It's the Hoosier Sophisticate Show. Question all the things that you know. Steve likes the weed.
Steve likes the weed.
Tell you about DMT.
The DMT.
Hoosier Sophisticate Show. The Hoosier Sophisticate Show. Hoosiers with the drink, sophisticated blasphemy. It's the Hoosier Sophisticate Show. Question all the things that you know. So let's set our minds free for the singularity. It's the Hoosier Sophisticate Show. The Hoosier Sophisticate Show.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen.
What's up, buddy?
Let's set our minds free for the singularity. That's how you start out a show, my man. Looks like I got a
Welcome,
little-
ladies and gentlemen,
looks like I got a
non-binary,
little jingle here.
sentient artificial intelligence, to the Hoosier Sophisticate
hard.
Show,
Sorry,
broadcasting live from the Mycelial Media Studios.
Cheers to you, sir.
Oh, cheers to
Good
you,
to
man.
see you.
It's good to see you as
tonight.
well.
I can't wait to break it down for these goddamn heathens.
Every time.
The page has been exploding. I don't know what's wrong with you people. It's almost like they're I don't know.
I'm into it.
They're into it.
They're into it.
They're into
They're
what
into
we're
it.
doing. I'm into what we're doing. It's an exciting time, especially in the cannabis world, in the psychedelic world. We've been having some deep conversations about what it means, what exactly we're doing here, how we can build a better community around us, a smarter, more thoughtful, caring community. We got some cannabis news. We got Cardinals stuff. Oh, I'm
excited.
I'm gonna blow you
Buddy,
away
it's
with
the
some
dog
Cardinals
days
stuff.
of winter for me, you know?
It is, but we're entering a time where we have the ability to we might sign one of the best players
In the game.
I
know.
and maybe defensively one of the best players
Of
ever.
all time.
So
I know.
mean,
Dude, it's exciting.
it's a big moment.
We got a lot of Chiefs fans in our
Yeah,
page.
what's up with that?
And
People still doing
congratulations,
that?
congratulations to them.
People are
we
still
can
doing
get
that?
off on that a little bit. So we're gonna talk some sports tonight. We're gonna talk some cannabis tonight. We're gonna talk some psychedelics tonight. We're gonna
What
talk
it do?
about. We're gonna give some streaming picks tonight. That's what
Yeah,
we
we got
do.
it.
We
We
got
got
some
it.
streaming picks. We're gonna just talk about a bunch of fun stuff. I've been listening. I had some good podcasts we were listening to. For those of those, maybe we can just jump into that right out the gate.
Okay.
On New Year's Day, our buddy Shane Moss, friend of the show, released psychedelic neuroscience symposium interviews that he made. The show that he recorded while we were in Michigan. And
He talk about us?
It's his. He did. He was like, "Man, I stayed with these guys. You wouldn't believe." Actually, if you
did
remember,
one
this was
before.
actually before. It was actually the day of, which is also really cool, right? It was like we got to have this amazing experience. Everybody that
Yeah, that was
was,
real
everybody that was participating, that presented at that deal, that we sat with at the bar, are on this podcast.
That's
So
super cool.
it was super
Except
cool,
for us.
and to hear them expound a little bit more. Like as we sat there for what 8-9 hours that day. I got so much information, unbelievable. We made some great contact, and even with all of that, listening to this podcast, I learned so much more. So even having been there, I'm telling you that there are gold in them thar hills, man.
Yeah.
Cool stuff. And as a matter of fact, one of the people that contribute on that, we're going to feature his research later on when we talk about psychedelics a little bit. Dr. Chris Temmerman from Imperial College London.
You realize the circles are pretty tight.
No doubt.
Maybe not small because it's really spread out, and I guess small in numbers, like in comparison to all the advocates for cannabis. You know, you can't throw a fucking dead cat. Sorry,
Steve killed the cat.
I'm obsessed with him. You can't swing a dead cat without hitting a cannabis activist. You know what I mean?
Steen scored.
Steen scored. Oh yeah. Oh fuck.
They're ruining the. He doesn't want to know. He's DVRing it, guys.
It's okay. Actually, the reason I'm not too worried about it is because my YouTube TV has been fucking me on the DVR. So keep me updated. I'm cool with it. I'm into it. Let's
Right on.
fucking do that thing. College football championship tonight. It was interesting to see our friends from Kansas City kind of keep that NFL fire alive because
doubt.
I don't. But I will. The only thing I've done with the NFL in the last 3 years is rewatch the Ray Rice video because nothing makes me hard like watching that video. What a hero! What a fucking hero!
God.
No, but Mahomes.
He's a stud.
I always wanted a quarterback to combine the aspects of Michael Vick with the arm of an Elway. You know, you figure there's a guy who's going to do it eventually.
Yeah, Vic had a cannon, but yeah.
But he
Strangled
left-handed.
dogs. But he strangled dogs.
Didn't want to get into that, but that's right. Yeah, he's a monster.
His stock fucking plummeted.
He's a fucking monster. But damn, he can throw a fucking
Boy,
football.
can throw a pigskin, no boy.
So the NFL, seeing that it's still going on, is always kind of, I don't know. I'm always like, really? Cool.
Oh, buddy, it's so weird.
I don't want to
for
be
me.
bitter, but I always have to say CTE. I always have to.
I'm bitter
go
as
there.
fuck. I'm not even sorry about it. It's definitely a strange identity crisis that I have. Sorry, just started watching. What bit was Steven doing with that shirt? Did I miss it, or is it coming up?
Oh, I had a.
Ross is the best.
He's an asshole.
He's the best.
He's a complete asshole. You're watching on Facebook.
Oh my
asshole. Go
God,
watch
you
it on
mentioned
YouTube.
Vic. I'm out. Well, yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
So were the dogs.
Yeah, now you know how they feel.
All right. I'm
No,
sorry.
Jessica Evans got pit bulls. Yes, I know exactly. Well, he's a piece of shit. I'm just saying he could throw a football. That's not
No
negating
doubt.
the fact he
No
could throw a
doubt.
football. I'm not going to get him on my team. Goddamn guy stands for an anthem. I'll tell you that much right now. The NFL's such bullshit. I don't even care about any of that. And it became this league of lies and bullshit. That's why I don't buy into it. But if your city and your team
You got to
doing
get
well,
behind. Dude, I grew up a Chiefs fan. Like, I'm not old enough to remember the St. Louis football Cardinals. I had an uncle who's from Kansas City who got me into the Chiefs at a young age. Christian Okoye, the Nigerian Nightmare. Derek Thomas is my favorite player of all time.
He was great.
He and Neil Smith on the same crew. Like, I was red and yellow through and through. We got the Rams. Now, I'm a hometown boy. I want to support the hometown
Blue gold,
team.
baby.
Yeah. But I was, still rooting for the Chiefs, because they meant so much to me. Dude, I have spent so many tears of my childhood over the Chiefs, over Marty Schottenheimer fucking taking us to the AFC Championship over and over and over again, only to fucking shit his pants and run the most predictable,
Gerbach.
lame fucking
Joe Montana?
offense ever. Yeah, dude, Joe Montana came in 93, and it was the best day of my life. My
Number
favorite
10.
player came to my favorite team. It was on. He was going to lead us to the promised land. Marcus Allen's running the ball. I love the fucking Chiefs. I loved him. Moved to Springfield, which really got me to grasp onto the Rams that much more because it was like my hometown. I was bringing my hometown with me, and the Rams got to be real good real quick after I moved down there. We went from being shit in 98
Tony
when I
Banks
moved there
to fucking
to
Kurt
99 like this grocery bagger was going to change the whole game. Anyway, so I became more of a Rams fan, get a little bit separated from that and really digging into my St. Louis roots because Springfield is kind of a weird, Springfield is like the flag in the center of a rope of tug of war between Kansas City and St. Louis, where like all of these transplants from these two cities go to college down there, and you can see that. And,
the trannies are tearing that part of the town apart.
No, they're building it up, man. The trannies are.
No, the transplants. That's what
They call.
That's what I call them.
Oh, okay, yeah. Taking the word back.
Transplants.
Taking the word back.
What is there another connotation for
But
it?
I will say that Chiefs fans got down there. They're it's awash with Chiefs fans down
They're
there.
awful. Is that what you meant to say? Chiefs fans are fucking
They got to
awful.
be harder and harder to be around. But honestly, it has less to do with them and everything to do with. Listen, even if the Rams would have just left St. Louis, that would have been fine. It was the way that they've done it. We're finding out it was
we
all
got
bullshit.
fucked.
And not to mention the Hunt family, who I held dear for so many years of my life, for giving me the Chiefs. They were the ones leading the charge for the Rams. They were the only dissenting, the only owner that voted originally for Stan to take the team to St. Louis
really?
because he wanted to have Missouri all to himself. And I was like, "Oh, you fucking prick! I'm not going to give you anything of me."
dare you.
Anyway, the NFL killed the rest of it
Selfish
for me, but it is very weird because what was once my dream, now I can't even be bothered by it. But hey, I know what it's like to be a sports fan who is in love with their hometown, especially. For the Chiefs, I understand the magnitude of this. They've never won the big one. I mean, you get it as a Blues fan. We just did it last year.
They've never won it. I didn't know that.
No, they were in the very
first.
first Super Bowl against Green Bay, and they lost in the Ice
Bart
Bowl.
Starr, man.
And
They'll
then,
get
they
ya.
lost to Fran Tarkenton and the Vikings. So
Wow, Fran Tarkenton's the man, though.
Anyway.
Well, the funny story about Kansas City. I went to Mizzou, and that's where I learned about all my Kansas City ness. Okay, I grew up not minding the Royals. I knew the Denkinger thing went on, and I knew there was a whole animosity. I didn't know. Everyone kind of knew that call was bullshit. Whatever. You could always throw it in Kansas City fans for, well, you won it on a bullshit call, even though they crushed us in fucking
Game 7. Was it 11-0? It was a ass whooping.
Yeah, it was a beatdown. So I get to Mizzou, and there's a lot of animosity because this is 02 when the Rams are good, and there was
Still
a lot
good,
of Rams animosity. Yeah, I mean, we're on our kind of.
There were some
downslide.
really good years where the Rams were. We had Marshall Faulk. We had a nice little team in Kansas City. Like, I was really pulling for that Governor's Bowl, where they had Priest Holmes and they had a nice little squad too. And I'm like,
the human joystick,
the Governor's Cup.
Is that the human joystick, Priest Holmes? Who is the human joystick? Their return guy, who could not Merton Hanks, but
Dante Hall.
Yes, nice, dude. Yeah, Dante's Inferno.
I got it. It's still in here. That's
like,
where the fuck of it, guys. It's like I tell you, I don't care, but all of that is still in here. It's in here somewhere. Like when people do copious amounts of psychedelics to bring up like any demons, I get fucking stats of kick returners coming up in my head. Dante Hall lives in my brain.
So I would get these couple of roommates from Kansas City who we have to live with off campus at an apartment complex. There were so many kids that they're like, we'll just team me up with some people because we wanted a 2-room, but they said we only have 4-room places left. We'll team you up with 2 people. So we get these bobos from Kansas City. One's this little
Dante Hall character.
A little guy. He's just a little guy. Poor little guy. And he played like and he didn't play violin, his buddy did. And his buddy was like a big galoot. Like, just a big galoot, man. Oh, my name's Jeff.
He was
one time he was
Baby
in a fraternity.
Huey.
Yes, he was in a fraternity, and he made me drive his car home from the bar. Well, I was hammered. I'm like, dude, I'm not driving home. You were supposed to be my ride. He's like, I'm going to drive my brother's home. And I'm like, oh, you want me to drive your Hyundai Elantra that has neon lights and a system in it, and it's a stick? And you want me to drive that home? Okay, idiot. I get back. The lights cut out when I get back into my parking lot. All of his LED like neon lights in the car go, gee. And I'm like, well, that's not good. I know what a short sounds like. That was it. And I stop and I'm getting out and the car is just smoking. And I'm like, burn that clutch. I was proud of myself. He wakes up the next day. He's like, was my car acting weird? I'm like, what do you mean? It smelled like it was on fire and every part of it was smoking. Yeah, it seemed like something was wrong with it.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have
It
made
was
me
like that
drive
when I
home,
found it.
ass.
It was like when I found it.
He had a Derek Thomas poster. We had a wall of St. Louis on one side, and he had a wall of Kansas City on the other side. So it was awesome. We kind of like, hey, man, no, St. Louis is better.
Fun ribbing.
Yeah, totally.
Sure.
Except one night, my roommate gets all wasted, and alcohol's so dumb, makes you so dumb. But this Derek Thomas poster was the centerpiece of their wall with these vaulted ceilings. It was above their hallway doorway, so it was the main centerpiece. And it was signed. And this thing falls, like, as we're, like, in this tussle or whatever, like, just kind of talking shit. And we were, like, I don't know, maybe throwing shit at each other's wall. We used to do shit like that. So there's commotion going on. The pitcher falls, and my buddy's got a samurai sword because he's, like, I think he was, like, deflecting shit or whatever. And we're just kind of fucking, not real.
Fruit Ninja?
Not real, yeah, not real. But we're just, fuck you, man, all drinking shit, stupid college shit. So that when the thing falls, he gets the instinct to charge it like a samurai, like, ah! He charges this Derek Thomas poster, hits it in the middle with the samurai sword, and is like, and just rips this signed Derek Thomas thing to shreds.
Oh, no, I want to kind of kick his ass, to be honest with you.
I'm on his team, and I'm like, too far, man. The dude died. You're not going to be able to, like, you can't send this in the Beckett address and say, can you resign this from the grave? People don't get visited by Santa if they're in the hospital, little buddy. That's kind of a fucked up thing he says in Home Alone. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, it is kind of a fucked up thing.
I never thought of that before when they almost hit him with the van. Like,
I think Santa makes trips to sick kids. I think he does that like right out the gate. He does it like a month early.
He should, or he's a fucking monster. I don't know if that's the exact line. But yeah.
Why is Steve trying to dress all nice with your polka dot button up? Oh, that's our buddy Adam Meredith saying
we got something coming up for you later if you don't stop yelling at me, Steven. I'm sorry, Craig. I love you too much. Craig and Jeff Craig, yes, Craig and Jeff.
Oh, you know what, Craig Morton, you're right. I take that back. You guys did win one. You won the one against Fran Tarkenton and the Vikings. My apologies. It's been 50 years since you've won something. So it's been a long time, Craig.
The fuck are you talking about? What is he? What is Derek Thomas? Whatever. Maybe some guys on Sports Guys.
Santa doesn't visit the funeral parlor, little buddy.
Oh, okay.
That makes a lot more sense.
I thought you said
that quote makes a lot more sense because I'm pretty sure Santa makes trips to the the cancer ward in the Children's Hospital. I'm pretty sure.
Sorry you don't get any presents this year, little Petey.
Hopefully you're around next year. If you make it, I got something for you.
Your blast numbers are up, buddy. Sorry.
Jesus. God, love it.
You got to get real in depth.
Yeah, I get it. You got to really commit to it.
Do we want to kick it over to sports since we're already kind of chit-chatting sports, or do we do our cannabis news? Because I got hot shit in both categories for you.
Well, I think, a lot of the cannabis community is along for the ride right now.
We're 18 minutes in. We're in our hot spot.
Yeah, right now the cannabis community is along for the ride, so maybe we should give them sports.
God, you see, that's his kink, everybody. Did everyone just see him? Yep, you can't see. Yeah, he's hard. You can't tell, but he's rock hard right now. All right, guys, what we're going to do, we're going to tell you a little bit about this newfound cannabis compound that may be 30 times more potent than THC. I don't want to get too much into it. We're always finding out new things about this plant. In Missouri, we're getting real wild right now. We had the manufacturing licenses come out. Seemed to be a little bit less of the uproar than
I think some familiar names got it. Some familiar names also didn't. And I mean, people that I think, I guess it's one of those things where we have to always exercise a little bit of caution with how excited we get about anything. It bums me out the more and more we talk about it. I would like to see just these licenses granted, and then, it gives people the opportunity. I understand that 60% of those are going to fail, if not more. I get that. But why don't we give people the opportunity to fail? That's where I'm at, or succeed. Like the flip side of that is maybe a company will surprise you. Maybe, what are we basing all of this on? So I still hope that we're moving towards a little bit more open, freer market where as long as you meet the certain requirements that they make for the state and you have the money and you have the property, hey, you're in. Can't promise you. Nobody's promising anybody success, but a 90% disapproval rate on every one of these things. It just seems silly to me.
They were also talking. I heard some of the advocates saying that now these companies that are awarded the first licenses, another business opportunity opens up for them to where they can become consultants in the next round of And I kind of have a little. You gotta get in where you fit in, people, and that's where I kind of say with this article. We're at the fucking tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, we have.
We're
I know.
Finding out this newest stuff. If there's anything I can say for St. Louis, let's think outside the seven leafed plant. You know what I mean? Like, let's think of what else we can do. What new ways we can think about how this helps, what ways we can use it as a medicine for the mind too, because we've talked about Hamilton Souther before, where he uses cannabis as a plant medicine, and now we know some guys who are making edibles that make that a pretty realistic thing to I thought I could never consume enough cannabis to where I could be kind of like, whoa.
I've learned so much about it. I thought I knew some shit, and I'm always open to learning more, right? Like anytime I approach any plant medicine, whether that's cannabis, whether that's fungi, whether that's brews, whether that's cactus, whatever any of that is, like I'm never in a place where I feel like I know anything. I feel like I can share some experience to be able to kind of highlight some of maybe the ups and the downs of it, but ultimately my subjective truth about it is just that it's mine. And I feel like when you're talking about the healing properties of the plant medicine spectrum, so much of that there are so many truths attached to these different medicines, but there is no one truth. We all experience a truth while we're dealing with these different things, our own subjective truth, but very rarely can you say, hey, this is what it is. This is how we're going to move through this because this is what it is. Because man, we have such a wide angle. So many of us have such different experiences. I thought I knew some shit about cannabis. I would say I've used cannabis regularly for well over half my life. And even with that, like edibles never really quite did it for me, or what would happen was I would keep eating them and never really feel stoned, and then eat too many, and the next thing you know, I'm passed out and I'm hungover the next day. Like I never got high eating an edible, or so I thought. And just this year, like I learned that edible cannabis is a completely different animal than smoked cannabis. I mean, for me, my experience, it is much more hallucinatory than say, smoking. Like I remember getting the very first time high, like the first time I ate like a real deal edible. I'm like, holy shit, I haven't been stoned like this since I was 50.
You gotta talk shit on the edible.
50, yeah,
too.
you gotta talk shit on it before
it
it won't work. It's there's just I just feel like we talk about cannabis often. I like to just bring the stories to people to where maybe if they haven't tried it, they might be interested in trying it. Same way with psychedelics. Like I'll never presume to tell anybody you have to do this, but if you go down that road, you might learn some shit. It's kind of where I want to be on that. And man, the edibles, like this year I learned some shit. I'm like, oh fuck. Like that compound, when it's concentrated and you're trying to metabolize it through your stomach and through your liver, it's a totally different deal.
For sure.
Totally different
and
deal.
it's a million trillion, an infinity of truths almost make up the one truth. That the one truth is that there's really no truth if you want to get kind of weird with it, like that's what it's all about. What do we got here?
The Spanish Society surveillance video tells a different story.
That's true.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
It's just it's a fan. There's security cameras at the Spanish Society. Shit. What?
We need to go.
We'll be back.
We got to go. Kes,
back.
meet us over at the Spanish Society in 20 minutes.
I love cannabis. I want to bring a sense of mindfulness to the cannabis plant, because I just consume. I'll just consume. I'll just consume. Keep, hey man, consume. You got some, consume. Edibles, cool. I want to consume. If I can bring some sort of mindfulness practice to it, I feel like it changes the game for me on a certain level.
No doubt.
Giving thanks before each one of those green hits. Being grateful for something before you partake in this. Just these mini ceremonies that you can have. If it's something that's going to be a part of your daily life. And I mean, the most holiest of holy bread, some of these edibles, man. Wow, it's a game changer for how it makes your body feel. And I wonder, this is what we always say, build the community, spread the information.
Kessler
study
erased
the
it.
shit. Yes, thank you. All right, we're good. We're back. But where we can find these communities, and then we can kind of tell, when you make it with Reclaim, it kind of does this. When you make it with a sativa or an indica, which we learned from old Georgie Nolan, that it
Michelle
should
Sanchez.
be broadleaf or
Narrow leaf.
Narrow leaf. Wow. We're learning new things all the time. So I want to encourage everybody to go out there and be your own traveler. Find your own truth or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Buy in whatever you're doing. And you feel it in here, you buy in.
No doubt.
Otherwise, if you're just halfway in, halfway out, that's the one thing I can say. I'm not sure if that does you any good.
I know we're way off on a tangent here, and we'll get back to this
That's what we do.
cannabinoid that they found that is 30 times stronger than THC. I also saw.
Well, I kind of just wanted to touch on.
Well,
it.
I also saw, and this, to build on that a little bit, this is important because it's something that I've argued with people before when trying to prove intoxication, under the influence when you're driving or whatever. I saw that one of the state Supreme Courts, I believe, might have just been a state appellate court. I'm not 100% sure. I think it was a state Supreme Court though. One of the states said that presence of THC in the blood is not sufficient grounds for DUI, that's huge. These are things that
Huge.
I think people that have known about cannabis for a long time and know how long it can stay in your system have been saying for a very long time. Where, hey, if I smoked on Wednesday and you popped me on Friday, like it's going to show THC in my system. It's a bullshit rule. So I mean, that's another thing. Like there are even tests. Normal has some tests posted on their site that are backed up with references showing that THC may not prove intoxication when driving. People may not be proven to be worse drivers under the influence of THC itself. So that's just a really bad metric to measure the intoxicating properties of a plant. And, figure this, like to jump to DMT for just a second, like
always do.
smoked DMT versus like a pharmawaska or an ayahuasca brew where you're trying to, where you're ingesting it and you're trying to metabolize it through the liver and everything are two totally different experiences. But in those experiences and in a psilocybin experience or any of these trip experiences, try coming to grips with the fact that you're seeing, to you, the most truthful, real thing that you have ever seen in your experience. Like you are experiencing the truth in its whole form. And then coming back and finding out that truth that you've experienced is completely different than the person who experienced a very real truth to them. You have to leave this broad spectrum for open conversation about it. Because if you're like, hey, this is what it is. Like I always feel like if you talk about it in a very matter-of-fact black and white way, and then somebody goes and does it and they don't have that experience, then they're going to wonder what they did wrong, or if they didn't go to the right place, or some people see entities, some people see colors, some people see languages, some people don't see anything at all, some people float in a void. This is the one truth that surrounds all of these different experiences is one that is the only truth is that it's different for all of us. And that's such a hard thing to reconcile in our brain that tries to make sense of everything. You know what I mean?
We're just a universe learning about itself. With each individual little, our DNA strands holding all of these little bits of information, it only makes sense that you compile this new list of information with these little bits that you're made of, which is actually little bits part of the entire big scheme. Totally. It's all connected. It's which cell is cognizant of which other cell,
Sure.
The heart cell's reality is a lot different than the lung cell's reality. The person over here, their reality is a lot different than this person's reality, even when we're looking at the exact same shit. That's why hopefully if what's the one thing that all of these fucking facilitators and scientists and doctors, they always say, build the community. And when you tell them something or when they need to gather information, it's this. Tell me more.
Yep. Yeah, totally.
I don't want to tell you what you did on DMT. I don't want to say, oh, well, that was the psilocybin working its way. They sit there when we talk to these people and they go, tell me everything you can remember from that. I don't want to put anything on you. Let's hear about it.
Yeah.
And building the community where you can facilitate talks with people like that and feel safe,
No doubt.
and safe is kind of subjective too.
Yeah.
But to feel comfortable, you'll trust your gut. Buy
Yeah.
in. I think the more you buy in, the more you're able to trust this
Yeah.
and go with what you feel like you need to go with.
Totally. I listening to Chris Timmerman talk, and when we were sitting with these people after this symposium, and these people are studying the science of it because it's really hard to project the truth onto the mystical side of things. But whatever we can make sense of scientifically might help us make sense a little bit more of these other things. And Chris Timmerman talks about the memes. Like, we know memes as to be these things that float around the internet, but before they became a thing, a meme was just something that was put into the hive mind, right? Like this idea. Like, for instance, I think Timmerman talks about this, and I think very much the same way. Like, Terrence McKenna talked about things matter-of-factly, like DMT machine elves. That doesn't negate the fact that they appeared in his place or that they might be real. But what it does do is it does increase the likelihood that somebody else is going to make sense of what they're seeing as that thing, because it's just something that's sat in the back of our heads. Like,
I think the balance too is you can not think of it. Kind of like, the whole the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. It's like, don't think of anything. Well, he made me think of it.
Can't help
think
it.
of it. Don't think of it. So there's a balance there too.
Yep, totally. So that's just what I'm saying. Like, I feel like you have people that are doing hard third dimensional science because they're just looking for one thing that they can kind of track the experience through.
No doubt.
It's not negating any of the spiritual or mystical aspects of this medicine. It's just simply saying, while you're experiencing that, this is what we're tracking in your brain. And so that's in the study that we'll talk about a little bit here coming up. They're just talking about measuring the brainwave oscillations and the fact that, actually, I could probably just riff on it right now.
Well, real quick, a baseball analogy. It's like home runs were things of legend. When Babe Ruth hit a towering shot, he was a guy who used a 54-ounce bat. And he hit
heavy ash bat.
He hit these, and people could only talk about him. Now we got a stat
Advanced
tracker.
metrics, yeah.
So now we are that magic that used to be this towering. We know exactly how fast it comes off the bat. We know all that. But guess what? There's still a little magic there that these big dudes and big moments and big things happen, and all this time that we consider time, this construct of all these events,
it all comes together at once.
That's the magic, baby.
Yep.
And you can't scientifically quantify that.
No.
You can get real close. And we should.
No
we
doubt.
should get as close as we
sure.
can.
For sure.
Let's fucking push it, baby.
Well, especially, like you consider what they're doing at like Imperial College. They're talking about, and they'll talk about this if you listen to that Shane Moss Psychedelics Neuroscience Symposium podcast. The next big test that they're going to do in Imperial College London is they're going to administer DMT for people and put them into the space for 30 minutes to see how much more they can bring back or how much more they can acclimate to. 30 minutes is a long time. If you've been in there for 6, sometimes you've been in there for eternity.
What's that movie with Kiefer Sutherland, the Scanners or whatever, where they kill each other? Who else is in it? Julia Roberts, maybe? Where they like go, and then defib each other so they can go over to the other realm.
Weird. As soon as you started talking about scanners, I started getting this really high-pitched fucking tinnitus in my left ear. So whoever's doing that, knock it off.
Great.
Knock it off, miss. Knock it off. If a super Christian took DMT, do you think they'd see Jesus? I think it's entirely possible.
How about the Good Friday experiment? I think
Totally.
a lot of those people said that was the most religious experiment, powerful religious experience of their life. Damn, Skippy, what site is this from? It's Live Science, Cannabis, Psychedelics, whatever you get, what you bring in your mind. Hell yeah, brother. Medibles. Oh God, Craig Morton's talking about medibles.
Well, yeah, because that's what our friend Jennifer Barra called them, and they're a different game. So, anyway, so I just wanted to talk about
there you go.
Chris Timmerman's study a little bit here. What we got?
You guys talking about drugs in here?
Hello, Mark.
Oh, y'all talking about drugs in here? This chick, Jennifer Barra, seems like a real big drug addict. Look at her.
Flatliners was the movie.
Flatliners. Yeah, that movie was.
There you go. Craig Morton says it's because it converts to hydroxy-11, so that's what's happening when you're eating it. God, he's good. Smart man.
Are we gonna
Smart
go
man.
into this?
Yeah, let's do it. So I'll go ahead and pull this up. This was a study. This was on Psychedelic Science Review, which is a great little site. They're always throwing out some really killer information. Basically, the modulatory effect of DMT on brainwaves. Let me pull this up here because I wanted to just kind of give the short end of it.
You give the short
I know,
end of
right?
something.
I know, right? Here we
didn't
go.
know that was possible. But
Let's see. So, alongside EEG recording, researchers measured real-time progress and subjective experience using phenomenological tests and parallel changes of DMT in blood plasma. Participants exhibited a significant decrease in alpha activity, oscillations commonly associated with waking conscious thought. Decreases in alpha oscillations are a common characteristic of the psychedelic state. Many believe that alpha oscillations are intrinsic to the brain's top-down processing. In other words, all of these things that we need the brain to prioritize, that's happening in the alpha brain state. But when we're taking these psychedelics, any psychedelic, DMT, psilocybin, whatever, it's essentially shutting those off. So what they were trying to find out in these experiments were,
I would almost think we go into alpha
Is
brain.
there a correlation between blocking that and then these other strong mystical experiences taking place? So Dr. Chris Timmerman, the lead author of the paper, writes that the breakthrough experience may be a perceptual mechanism by which the brain switches from the processing of incoming information to a state in which it's processing internally driven information, as in the classic REM sleep dreaming. So changes in subjective experiences, increases in DMT plasma concentrations paralleled increases in signal diversity. So when the alpha brain was essentially blocked out, the amount of brain signals that were firing in all of these other wave states was significantly increased. So in other words, like our fight or flight is kind of, it's shut off. Motor skills are probably, if you've ever done.
Well, alpha. Oh yeah. If you alpha brain is when they say people are in the zone. They're in the zone. They're in that alpha brain wave.
Yep.
You're kind of in it, but out of it. So focused, but not focused at all. You know what I mean? Like it's like a fucking sense of confidence too.
No doubt. Well, it's a knowing, right? It's a knowing, and that's what's
faith.
That's what's so tough, I think, about the experience is the knowing that comes along with it, and then wanting to share that knowing with everybody. Not really. I mean, finding the best language you can to do it.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like when I'm talking about the psychedelic state, like the one of the best things about it, one of the hardest things about it, and the reason I think why it's hard for us to bring the information back is you don't see things in psychedelia, you don't hear things in psychedelia, you don't taste things, you don't feel things, you don't smell things. You do all of those things simultaneously, and so then it's really hard. Like you're using.
Yeah, that sounds fun. I think I'd like to try some of that.
You're using a sensory. You're using sensory adjectives, right, to explain something that in your waking consciousness you don't have those. The average person doesn't have like those extra 25 senses to help make sense of the whole thing. And I think that's why it feels so much like truth to them, because very few things in this plane affect all of our senses wholly like that particular experience.
Doubt.
So and then just to kind of build on that a little bit.
I mean, we've actually even seen that with some of the brain wave studies where they show how everything's connected.
Mm-hmm.
Like when people do that breathing and other shamanic drumming, or some other areas where you get your whole brain.
He talks to her in the podcast as well, and so it's great, man. Like it's split into 3 different podcasts. The first bit is like it's our buddy Nick Denemy, Alan K. Davis, the researcher from Ohio State and Johns Hopkins, and Rick Doblin. That's the first hour, and they just kind of talk about psychedelics in general. Ketamine, making sense of the 5-MeO experience, and then the second hour is our buddy Nick Linos that sat across from me at the bar.
Yes.
His research partner, John Dean.
The one we felt bad for. Got stuck with us.
Yeah.
We're
His research partner, John Dean, and whose fiance was the AI.
Oh, yeah.
And
Elon
then
Musk,
and then
calling
Chris
him
Timmerman.
out.
And then Chris Timmerman. And then in the last hour, it's the ever so handsome Michael Brito, who is the guy that is really researching
cool
levels of consciousness through ketamine and also nitrous oxide. So it's him, Emily Trammell, who is the gal that did shamanic drumming, and then Katrin Preller, who is the Swiss, who's the gal that teaches at Zurich. Guys, you got to check it out. It's if you're into psychedelic science at all, and there's some funny stories.
I'm into it.
Shane, weaves in some comedy into it. It's great.
Right? Normally I can't taste the wallpaper from the couch. Right? I know, man. It's fucked up. The raspberries.
They probe people's brains and send electrical impulses to them, and the people saw different entities. Some people saw Jesus, some people saw God, some people... I don't even know what's going on in here.
Ooh, that's kind of
pretty
interesting.
Cool. Kid can't even read.
Yes. J-Rob's been on one.
He has been on one. You go to fucking Europe for 2 weeks, come back to a brand new house, and all of a sudden you think you're the fucking real deal.
You're explaining it quite well for someone who has never done DMT.
The observation of increased signal diversity during the DMT experience is consistent with the research group entropic brain hypothesis, formulated to describe the psychedelic state. So the entropic brain hypothesis proposes that within a limited range of states, the richness of content of any given conscious state can be meaningfully indexed by the entropy, the disorder of its spontaneous brain activity. So the more and more that we can kind of, slow the spontaneous brain activity, the more and more we can kind of compartmentalize the journey is kind of essentially what they're doing. So to put it all in perspective, for many years, the profound effects of ayahuasca and DMT in general have been associated with mysticism. Thanks to the recent resurgence in psychedelic research, science can now shed some light on the neural correlates of the so-called breakthrough experience. Though psychedelic research is still in an early phase, converging evidence outlines some shared characteristics of the psychedelic state, namely the decrease in alpha oscillations and an overall shift towards a more chaotic, disorganized brain state. In other words, an increase in entropy. Perhaps in the coming years, the world will see the emergence of a unified theory of the psychedelic state, Such a theory would also provide valuable insights into the nature of reality and consciousness itself.
Fuck yeah. What's real? We're gonna find out. We're inside one of those fucking PS4 games I have upstairs, buddy.
And we've talked about this before. Like, I don't want to exist in a world that is solely explained on paper with mathematical formulas. To me, that's so fucking boring. And a lot of scientists would say, no, that's not the case at all. It's still just as fascinating. Why? It is, but it isn't. Like, I'm a firm believer that the mystical aspect of this experience, the spiritual aspect of this experience, which, by the way, has been the climax of my spiritual existence, right? Like, especially going through it as my dad's dying. Like, there are things that I've experienced through life that have absolutely triggered like these very existential questions of me and my place in the multiverse with God and what all of this means. And I don't. To me, it would be disheartening to think that it all can be explained with fucking flasks and beakers and mathematical equations. So I want all of the mysticism attached to it. But with that, with that being said, I'm also so excited to see them be able to explain some of it. So that because that is ultimately what's going to change legislation. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. You can show. That's the other thing. We act like this science is going to be the thing that like really convinces our world leaders to start making the right choices. But has that really been the case with
like
fucking
they don't
anything?
know what
has that really
shit
been
does.
totally? Has that been the case with anything? I don't fucking think so.
That's what I worry about. Bohemian Grove. You don't think they've been sucking the DMT out of babies' brains for fucking
Right
years?
to the brain.
Yeah, yeah exactly.
like Jim Carrey and Batman Forever, just drinking it in, all of their thoughts and info.
They don't know. They don't think they don't know. No, I also think about the psychedelic experience and how I was trying to come up with a good analogy for it navigates trauma. It really helps you navigate the world of trauma as this meat suit monkey thing we are. When you go through trauma, it leaves an imprint on you, and psychedelics have an amazing way of being able to unburden you from your trauma. But I don't want people to think that, oh man, you take psychedelics and you're good.
It's not a panacea.
Or don't. Or if you never take psychedelics, you're never going to get it. Sorry. No, there's a lot of ways to fucking get it. We had that thing about all the different medicines, fishing and yoga and music. And it's like you were saying earlier with the experiences. It's almost like you have a list of songs that you love. I have a list of songs I love. You have a list of movies. I have a list of movies. You go to Blockbuster. You see that guy who has these list of his movies out of his experiences. Oh, Kevin's got
Mark's picks.
Yeah, he's got some. He's on one. Then you can kind of pick with them, and maybe their experiences, their movie picks are their experiences because that's what they're shaped from. So that when you go in there, oh, your movie list is pretty similar to mine. I'd like to hear what your experiences were like. Sure. And that's where we start growing out from there. Like maybe the person down here who her movies are all these movies that I wouldn't really get into, like I'm not huge into anime. There'd always be like one weirdo who's like, I got this documentary about this band in the 80s, this hair band, and then 4 anime movies that are off the grid anime movies, none of that popular bullshit, and you're like, oh Jesus, Carl, settle down,
sure.
Like okay. But I know nothing wrong with that. Right. I'm just thinking, well, our experiences might be a little different, but there's always something to learn from that
every
difference.
single time.
So every time you're doing it, you just got to be learning, and you're not gonna learn everything ever because learning is it.
Yeah, no doubt. Like I feel like the more you do psychedelics, it's weird because a lot of times the more you do things, anything, the rule of 10,000, right? Like the more you do something, the more of an expert you kind of become on it, right? Except with psychedelics. Right, like
well, in some ways
works.
You do.
Well, you learn how to maybe be a little more comfortable with it.
Yeah,
but you're like,
it's hard to use the word expert.
Oh, it's real tough to use the word expert.
Use the word
well, that's the whole thing.
expert,
Is I feel like that's the power of them, right? Like the one kind of
the experts wouldn't call themselves
the one
experts.
objective truth that I think I've kind of realized with this is that the more and more people you talk to that have had it, the more they've done it, the more kind of like some answers were made, but like for every answer you get, 100 questions pop up. And it only gets weirder and weirder. And then, of course, the things that we're learning here in this dimension and, in this reality are also like every time we go back to that space, we're going with like it's like getting into a car when you have Bluetooth on your phone and it's like, hey, your contacts have updated. Would you like to upload them? And you're like, well, yeah, sure. Make sure my contacts are updated. Well, it's the same thing. You go into this experience and it's like, hey, you've learned all of this information out there since you've come back in. Want to see how weird it can be? And so like, ayahuasca actually
you're physically different too.
Yes,
You're physically different than the last time you went in.
No doubt, even if it's only been minutes.
Even
if it's only been minutes, right? Like that's what's crazy about it. I was thinking about the same experience-based movie analogy with music. We are shaped in a specific vibration due to our experiences, and this is reflected in music we listen to but are also attracted to. I love that, Mr. Lucido. Yeah. I get that. That resonates with me. And the other thing that's exciting about that was what was cool about finding that maybe that person that worked at Blockbuster whose picks you jammed on was like they weren't giving you anything.
You found out he was a pedophile, and you're like,
son of a bitch! I can't have anything nice.
God damn it.
But it becomes this. It becomes this. Like you're watching those movies because he hit it on the nose a couple of times. You're not watching it because it's like you got to watch this because this, and this. It's like, hey, this is just really awesome. And if you want to check it out, if you think that I've got good taste and shit, go ahead and check it out. And I think maybe, we could be a little more responsible when it comes to telling people, hey, yeah, this might be the experience for you because we know how humbling it can be. We know how big it can be. And my thing is like, you can tell somebody who's been humbled by DMT because I've been in the room with these people many a times. Some people that have done it hundreds, if not thousands of times. And for the most part,
I've seen it humble people.
Well, I'm sitting right here in front of you. But even, but like even bringing it up in conversation, not knowing their story, you can see when DMT scared the fuck out of somebody because the mere mentioning of those 3 letters will bring a look to their face like a post-traumatic stress response.
Well, DMT is crazy because it can be 8 minutes of the most beautiful thing you've ever seen.
It usually is.
And if you've done other psychedelics, you're like, oh, just a toe in. Oh, this is. Stick your face under the water and go, oh, hold your breath for as long as you can. And then you come back out and you're like, oh, there's a lot of shit going on down underneath the water. Holy shit.
That's the deal, man. That's the deal. My experience with DMT is 99% positive, right? Like the 1% is powerful enough that I feel like I should at least exercise caution when telling people whether or not they should experience it. But for the most part, and I also like to think I'm a bit of an anomaly, in the sense that like I'm pretty comfortable in those altered states of consciousness, more so than a lot of people, right? And even with that, like I'm like I don't want you to be too confident going in there because there could be some potentially psyche breaking shit in there. I don't think that anybody's, if you're irresponsible, you're going to be punished for it. This is something that I've lived. It's something that I preached, and then I lived after I preached. By not practicing what I preached, I got fucking spanked for it, Yeah. But for the most part, like most of my experiences were so positive that I still to this day will risk that scary one because of how beautiful and amazing the other 98, 99% of my experiences have been and will be with it. So like, and not to mention, way more growth has come from the scary ones.
The monster under your bed doesn't exist. And when you're a kid, it's the realest fucking thing that ever existed. You might have some monsters under your bed that you fucking know about that you need to deal with. And sometimes the medicine says, those monsters are the realest motherfucking, and you're like, no, I don't. That's true fear, and you feel like you're dying. Mm-hmm. Like you could be dying.
No doubt.
Sometimes you gotta feel like that because you come out the other side different, and you can either let it maybe break you a little bit and say, whoa, man, or you can say, oh, I got through that. I either need to be more responsible next time, or wow, I'm capable of a lot of shit, and all this shit that's been weighing on me, maybe it's time to take a big fucking deep look at that.
No doubt. No doubt. Jim Thomas says, if you've ever had to talk someone off the edge, you respect it. So you have to be a good guide. Man, there's no doubt. I mean,
I'm the worst at that.
I mean, Steve's like, jump, dude.
I'll tell you, get fucked.
Maybe you're dying.
You're a pussy. No one thinks you're going to do it.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah, don't do that in that space.
Like, oh my guys, I got this handled.
But on the flip side of that, like if I didn't know how great the payoff could be, if it didn't change me so in such a huge, profound way, then I wouldn't speak to the importance of people seeking these things out if they feel like a big answer is missing for them. Yeah. And you know what? It might just be the most fucking confusing thing that you've ever done, which is the case for a lot of people.
One of the most unimpressive things you've done, like those guys in the movie.
Seen that a couple times.
I mean, they didn't take a giant dose.
No, I've seen that a few times. I've seen
where they're like, it ain't gonna work for me.
I've seen that with people that are maybe under the influence of some kind of, or have had recently maybe SSRIs in their system, or a long history of use with SSRIs.
That'll change it.
Anything that works on those serotogenic receptors, and like that has pinged them over time, like DMT might not wow you at all, like at all. It might not.
It's chemicals.
But if it does, and it can, it's a wild thing. Like I'm a big time advocate for psilocybin because that's the medicine that speaks the most to me, right? Like I've had multiple ayahuasca experiences now, and it's great. It's beautiful medicine. I think that it helps a tremendous amount of people. And just like the psychedelic experience, like almost progressively making more questions, DMT is actually what's the word I'm looking for here? It is it does not build a tolerance. So you can continuously do DMT. And from all of the scientific studies that we've found, like over time you might wear yourself down a little bit, but for the most part you don't build up a tolerance to it, so you can do it often. Please don't go out there and just do DMT all the time.
That's what I got in my cup right now. Anyway, better take another little swig.
Craig says, I had the hardest experience of my 49 years this summer, and I'm better for it. Me too. Actually, me too. I had the hardest experience of mine, and it was. I feel as though maybe. I feel bad framing it as though it was DMT that did it, because it was a collection of bad choices that I made over the course of 48 hours that happened. The DMT just happened to be the hard fucking exclamation point punctuation on, but like
uppercut.
But like, and my reasons for doing it, like there was a million different things that led to this break of sorts, right? But it was all a matter of. It was all a matter of my own irresponsibility, and also probably a matter of my own doing and putting it out there, because I'm always talking about how the most egomaniacal thing about me, the most egocentric thing about me in that space is envying friends who have tough journeys, because I pretty much have a pretty fucking easy go all the time. Hey guys, this is pretty
what
cool.
An ass.
This is pretty cool. I talk to gods and I see colors.
I had an 8-hour orgasm, dude.
Totally.
How was yours?
Yeah.
I'm covered in shit and puke. Like, pretty good, man.
Totally.
My parents are super disappointed in me, but
doubt,
whatever.
No doubt, man.
We're building a community, baby.
We can't. I guess I can't recommend anybody does anything. All I can do is normalize the conversation around it enough to be like, hey, there are real. There are real ramifications, consequences for taking this. For the most part, they're incredibly positive, but not for everybody. And having talked to as many people as I have about this, because I can't get enough of it. Somebody tells me they have an experience, just like you were saying earlier, I'm like, please,
I know.
Tell me about it.
That's why you mixed in so well with those peeps.
Because everybody's
no one talked.
experience
Everybody was
is
just
so. Everybody's just listening for a story. No doubt. No, I don't hear. But I can't get enough of that. When you talk, when I think that's the thing that lights me up more than anything, is to see people go to it, and especially like
that and rubber fist. I see your face light up every time you see one of those rubber fists.
Yeah, it's got to have the cone on it though.
Okay,
it's got to have the cone so it kind of works into me.
I've never seen that.
Gently.
They're always kind of like this.
Oh no, yeah, no, you gotta.
That's not a bad way to do it.
You gotta work the cone.
No, look at that. That's an arrow pointing straight into your beehole, friend. No, you talked about the psychedelic experience outside of psychedelics with your story about your dad seeing his friends and the Gospel of Luke, which you haven't checked out our podcast. Check out our podcast. But
Yeah, new one dropped today.
That's one of the most meaningful things that I've been thinking about this year is that psychedelic doesn't mean psychedelic necessarily. You know, I guess the definition true. Okay, but these psychedelic experience we can have outside of the medicine, where the medicine helps you see other things. Like I like MDMA because I feel like for a couple weeks after, I can tap into that pure love source that I felt, and I can be like, okay, I'm patient. I'm more like, okay, I feel like I've done a little work. Not necessarily that MDMA is
awesome.
work, but I feel like
it
I can
be.
go to my happy place a little easier. You know,
it can be for sure.
You know, so
I
there's something to
I
it.
don't much care for MDMA in group settings, but in a one-on-one with your partner
Oh,
setting,
buddy.
that's it was developed as a relationship tool, right? And it's a shame that with all of the progress they're making in the FDA for PTSD studies with MDMA assisted psychotherapy, they're not allowing it for couples therapy because it's huge, it's immense, you know. And for me, like I'm not even sure that you can really feel the full effects of MDMA if you're not also introducing this physical aspect to go along with it. So, right on, Craig. That's the deal, brother. I don't know what you're agreeing with, but if you're agreeing with me, I love you, man. No, I just
Jenny knows what's up.
all of these medicines, man, they all serve their purposes. You know, and what's amazing is how many people I've heard, even like Aubrey talk about it, or even Rick Doblin or Joe Rogan. Like these guys talk about if you had to just choose one medicine, you had to get rid of all of them. You had to choose one and like almost all of them choose MDMA. And I'm and I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough with it.
Go,
If
what'd you guys say?
Yeah,
You snorted a big thing of ketamine.
Yeah. Huh? I just I've even said like I have not had the experience with it in order for it to be my favorite. I'm not yucking anybody's yums. If that's your speed, that's your speed, you know. Totally your speed. And typically, you know, like I get it also when I do anything that's, you know, kind of psychedelic, I typically like to get in my own space. Definitely boof it. But
no doubt.
Get in my own space.
And what's funny is because I like to give Craig shit about being the shaman because you're one of my most well-traveled friends. I mean, if I was going to take a trip around the world, I want to talk to Anthony Bourdain, you know, but Anthony Bourdain made a life out of showing you what he did, but he also lived it. So you just knew he was doing it. He didn't really have to tell you anymore when you get to a certain level. When you get to a certain level, are these ayahuasqueros like, hey man, check out my Gucci belt, my fucking all that shit is
I think
gone.
Some of them are. I think
doubt.
it's now that it's become big business.
Damn
it
right,
is, but I think
baby.
any medicine person worth their weight is not doing that.
It's conundrums, baby. We're always, and like you said, one question leads you to more, and then once you get to the end question, you'll say, oh fuck, it's gonna lead me back to the beginning, and it kind of makes that seem like I was wrong. You know, it always keeps you guessing, baby. I got one more cannabis news story. Fucker hasn't returned my call in a while.
Answer me. Holler at me, Anthony. Ross, you're the worst.
That's hilarious. But we got sports news coming up. I know the Blues are playing right now. Thank you for the updates.
We're going to do that on the other side of the break?
We're going to do that on the other side of the break. I do have one more article. This one's just for fun. You potheads better get your shit together.
Oh, this shit cracks
because
me
Michigan...
Look at this.
Okay,
the smelloscope. Wasn't that on Richie Rich?
Michigan town buys nasal ranger to track down stinky marijuana plants. First thought, oh, where do I get one?
yeah, how do I go find all the... Dude, I can see all these growers are gonna be like bragging. They're like, "Well, did your crop trigger the stinky smeller? Did it?"
Dogs look at this guy like, what an asshole. First
he's taking our germs. They're taking our germs.
And B, you know that guy is sniffing random women's assholes with that. You know he is. Look at that dirty bastard.
He looks way too happy. He isn't smelling reefer.
He's not. He'd be mad if he was smelling weed. So I just wanted to show you that because they're training officers. This is on Newsweek. This is real. I mean, is this the
Dude,
Onion?
I swear to God, wasn't the movie Richie Rich with Macaulay Culkin?
Yeah.
Where they had the fucking smelloscope and it's like, try nitrotoluene. And like they could smell fucking TNT.
Yeah,
That's See,
Oh, yeah.
this is the importance of sci-fi and imagination, because whatever we put out there, guys, is ultimately going to come true. That is a thing. It's the smell. It was also on fucking Futurama. They had the smelloscope. And they would, oh my God, I can't believe this is real. I can't believe it's real.
Hey, guess what? Am I on DMT? Because that's the shit I come up with.
Why don't you smell my pineal gland, fella?
Okay. Well, we're going to take you into a break.
Right here.
We got some awesome stuff coming up after the break. I got a big news for the Cardinals and Cardinals fans. I'm going to make it real quick. I'm going to see what Craig says afterwards, because he's a big Cardinals fan at heart.
Big honk.
Blues are playing. We also have a clip from Outside Perspective. We got streaming picks, and we're just going to fucking straight give it to you.
Let's do it. We got into the psychedelic talk a little heavy today,
That was
didn't
awesome.
we?
I love it.
Right on, brother. All right, guys, stick around on the other side of the break. Steve's going to give you some sports.
Hey girl, where you wanna go?
I don't care, I just love you.
Are you hungry? Do you wanna get something to eat?
I don't care, I'm kinda hungry.
Well, what sounds good?
Anything sounds good, you pick.
How about some Mexican?
No, I had that for lunch yesterday.
How about we get some Italian food?
Ew.
Okay, now you're not saying anything and just
I
giving
just
me a
want
look.
something delicious.
What does that even mean?
I want to sit outside.
Applebee's, son?
Applebee's
No,
is
Applebee's.
gross.
Applebee's
I'm not
is
eating
good.
Applebee's.
I don't know why you're
Applebee's
always
fries
hating on
are
Applebee's.
disgusting.
Applebee's is one of
They're
my favorite darn
gross.
places to go ever.
I'm not eating Applebee's.
I wanna go to
Truman's. Let's go to Truman's. Soulard, go to Truman's. I wanna go to Truman's. In Soulard, take me to Truman's. We agree on Truman's. I agree on Truman's. Soulard, I love Truman's. Soulard, Truman, Truman,
Truman's and Soulard, a place we can all agree upon.
Shut up, you idiot.
James Carlton. James Carlton. James Carlton. You gotta get your insurance. Gotta get that State Farm insurance.
You think you found the best insurance agent in the game? Well, I got news for you. I did, and it's James Carlton. State Farm. CarltonInsurance.net.
961-4800.
Hey everybody, I'm just making this post as a little public service announcement. I recently had a roof leak, and I got online and called the hashtag Roof Boys. They showed up and they didn't have a truck. They came out of the woods near my home, which was odd. When they showed up, I'm pretty sure they were children. The little one was aggressive. He was beating on my garage. He was shirtless and had a tattoo that said Bug Life. And the older one didn't have a ladder and said he would climb my roof by getting on the pillar, and he was slapping a spatula around, which I don't know what a spatula does for roofing. So if you want a reputable roofer, I recommend you go to Lifetime Roofing and Renovation, located in Webster Groves. They've been around since 2005, and they're grown men.
Hey guys, it's me, Kippy the Crazy Koala Bear, and I'm here to tell you about James Carlton Insurance.
Kids, quiet down.
It's the best.
Kids, quiet down and listen to Kippy.
Grown-ups need insurance, and Uncle James can help.
Right on.
Grown-ups need insurance. He's got the best reviews on Yelp. Grown-ups need insurance if they want to protect their house.
Yes, sir.
Grown-ups need insurance if they want to properly bury a spouse.
That's a bit morbid.
Grown-ups need insurance if they drive a truck.
Okay.
Grown-ups need insurance just so they don't get
Whoa, Kippy, you can't.
Well, I was just
no,
going to
you
say
cannot.
get in trouble.
Okay, well, it
you
sounded
don't
like
want
you were
to
going
get
to
in trouble.
sounded like you were going to say something else. James Carlton, State Farm Insurance. You can find him online at carltoninsurance.net, or you can call him at 314-961-4800.
That Kippy's a freak, am I right, everybody? Hey, guys, welcome to the Sports Zone with your host here, Stephen George Michael Elgin, and I'm going to let St. Louis in on a little secret. We're in the money for Nolan Arenado, and I'm not a huge Nolan Arenado guy. I actually think he might be a tad bit overrated. I think the stats are a bit inflated in Colorado. That was my first thought, of my first inkling. I don't care. I think he's the rich man's Eugenio Suarez. Okay, and I'm not afraid to say that. He's the rich man's Eugenio Suarez. I think Chapman from Oakland is just as good. But the defense, the fucking defense, I'm going to give you 5 reasons why the Cardinals should go ahead and sign Nolan Arenado. And first, I'd like to bring up, go down a little bit, and let's go for, it's going to be fun for St. Louis. Go ahead and click that. Guys, it's fun for St. Louis, okay? Imagine a lineup that has Goldschmidt, Ozuna, and fucking Arenado in it. And see Mookie Betts. Click on Mookie Betts and drag him in. He wants to, hey, Mookie Betts wants to come play in St. Louis too. Hey, buddy. Hey, but where you going? Where you going, Mookie? Where you going, little Mookie? Imagine a lineup that's got Mookie Betts too. And I know what you're saying. I know what you're thinking, Craig. We don't have the money for it. Guess what, sons of bitches? We got the money for it. Okay, even with Fowler and Carpenter still on the payroll. So St. Louis, imagine what a good old time it would be with that fucking, I don't even care. Craig and I could pitch. It doesn't matter. Give up Hudson. Give up Carlos Martinez. Give them all up. I don't care. Give up everybody. St. Louis needs to have a good time, okay? Now go ahead and get rid of the St. Louis, and let's do Arenado's face. Okay, look at this guy. Oh. Look at this guy. You don't want that in St. Louis. Reason number 2, look at the fucking guy. Okay? God dang. Welcome to St. Louis, buddy. You're a good little baseball player. I'm going to do unspeakable things to you if you go 4 for 4 today. Okay, so that's number 2. Look at him. He would look good in a Cardinal uniform. Just like Goldschmidt was one of the he's probably born in a Cardinals uniform. They probably had to take it off him, and then, the whole Arizona thing. But now he's back where he rightfully should be. Let's go ahead and get rid of that because it's making me hard. Let's go to the third thing. I'd like to point out Matt Holliday. If you remember, we got Matt Holliday. I believe we got him 2009. Here, Craig's going to pull up the stats for me. 2009, he came to St. Louis from Colorado, and he had some huge years in Colorado. Look, 137 RBIs, 114 RBIs, 34, 36. He never got back to those levels for St. Louis, but I mean, he was pretty damn consistent. 94, 90, 102, 103, a little shortened season, 75, probably on pace. He's right around 90 RBIs. He batted, about 270, 280, 296, 300. The guy was a fucking steed, a consistent steed. Someone who was an MVP candidate in Colorado, came to St. Louis at about the same age and fucking hammered it. Reason 3, let's take a look at the fucking stats. Now show me Arenado's stats. All right, you can go ahead and throw up Holiday's too because I can see them together. So now you got the years for 22 to 28. You got Arenado. I mean, this guy's a fucking steed. Arenado is at the bottom. 42 home runs, 41 home runs, 37, 38, 41, 130, 133, 130. This guy is a fucking animal. Very similar to the year 27 that Holliday had in Colorado. We got Holliday when he was 29. We're going to get Arenado when he's 29, and you're still going to get a lot of productive years out of this cat. Maybe you only get him for 2 years, but I mean, until he was 34, Holiday was still raking. Let's take a look at my other guy, Scott Rowland. I want to look at his stats real quick. Another guy, a powerful third baseman. I'd like to draw some comps, just built the same. Both play defense better than any third baseman I can remember seeing. And if you see when he got to St. Louis, a couple monster years. 124 ribbies and 34 home runs, batted .314. Huge year for him. He only played 142 games. He also was 29 years old. What I'm saying is let's go get this cat. Okay, everybody? Having Nolan Arenado and Goldschmidt in the same lineup is fucking awesome. The last reason number 5, is he likes The Office. It's his favorite show. I looked that up today. Mookie Betts, what do you think about that, bro? You know anything about that, Mookie? I think Mookie's that red thing right there. Is that him? Oh, no, he's behind everything. Mookie, oh, that Mookie, where you at? And I think we can get, could you imagine getting Mookie Betts too? Move whatever you have to move. Take on salary. Our salary, our payroll's about $150 million. We got a lot of get him out of here. Get him out of here. Quit blocking my view, Mookie. Get out of here, Mookie. Ducking and weaving. There is one thing, though, I'm worried about. Okay, so the Cardinals' payroll is $150 million. We can expand that. The fucking Yankees' payroll is $250 million. I know we're a mid-market team. We've been hoarding money for a while, okay? And we turn guys like Miles Michaelis into all-stars. We sprinkle a little Cardinals magic dust on it. I do show them the last graphic, the hurt back, because the only thing I'm worried about with Arenado is him dragging that hog all over the place and maybe throwing his back out. I hope he doesn't do that. So that's the 5 reasons why I think the Cardinals have to go all in and sell the fucking farm for Nolan Arenado and go get me Mookie. Go get me Mookie too. Come on, where you at, Mookie? Where you at, little Mookie? Where you at, little Mook? Where you at, baby? I love that dude. He's a steed too. Him running around. And guess what? If Fowler and Carpenter just come back to earth a little bit and get that 380, you get it, Mookie. If you can get an OBP of 380 with those two guys and slot them in somewhere, if Bader sees the field ever again, I'm gonna fucking light the arch on fire. Okay, I'm gonna melt it. Okay, with jet fuel. So let's go ahead. We'll come back to the main view. I'll meet you back at the other desk, Craig, if you want.
Sure.
And we can kind of discuss some of your thoughts on that.
Okay, I love it, man. You got me juiced, brother. You got me juiced.
I'm not usually juiced about it, and I'm juiced about it.
We so recently the Cardinals just made what a big trade, but it was an organization changing trade by moving Jose Martinez and Arozarena, who I think is a nice little ball player, moving the both of them to Tampa Bay for what appears to be one of the best prospects in baseball, left-handed pitcher. The Cardinals aren't shy when they talk about, hey, this is what we want. We want the newest, best, youngest arms. I think that if they didn't make that move to potentially package, was it Liberatore?
Yes.
Liberatore, to go get somebody like an Arenado. Liberatore. If they didn't do that in order to package a bigger deal together, then at the very least, what they're doing, we're only a few years away. We're going to get Flaherty for a couple more years, but when that contract comes up, it's going to be a big one.
It's going to be a big one.
By the money in baseball, by the time that kid hits the free agent market, we might be talking about $450-500 million contracts. We might be talking about that.
And I'm not shy about giving the Cardinals front office shit. I will say you fucked up, you didn't do it, but I think the Cardinals front office has done very well, and we have to think that, holy crap, we had Oscar Tavares in the pipeline, and Reyes has kind of pooped his pants, even though he can still be.
He's just been bit. Like, he's just been snake bit,
doubt.
man, because I do believe, all things considered, as good as Flaherty is, a healthy Reyes to this point would be just as good, if not better than Flaherty. That's how good he is. He's just been fucking bit. I mean, can you imagine a world like we did? We lost Oscar Tavares. That was our blue chip
swing in
That was
years.
our blue chip, right? Like, that was going to be the guy that was going to anchor our offense for years to come. In the meantime, the Cardinals have been developing pitching like nobody else. I mean, to be honest with you, Carlos Martinez should still probably be a starter if he could just figure it out up here. If he could just maybe go do a little Deemsters.
Yeah, buddy. I told you about the Blues 2 years ago. I said they actually forfeited a game so they could take a 5-day trip to Peru around the All-Star break, which we got the All-Star break coming up. Speaking of sports, I think January 24th, All-Star game in St. Louis.
I think the Beebs is coming to town.
If he's going to go with Bennington one-on-one.
The Beebs and Bennington.
That should be pretty
the cat's
fucking...
trying to sabotage the
I'll
broadcast.
skin that thing live on television.
Don't skin it.
Let's go skin this.
Skin this moway. See what happens.
So that's why I think I just want baseball to be really exciting again. And when you put together a team like that, baseball gets really exciting.
Well, and I mean, consider this. Consider how spoiled we are as fans. Guys, we were one
I'm
of
telling
the
them to go get bets and fucking Arenado.
How spoiled are we? We are not. We are 6 months removed from being one of the last 4 teams playing baseball. Not even 6 months. 4 months removed from being one of the last 4 teams playing baseball. We were in the National League Championship Series. That's fucking almost as good as it gets, and we're still like, this fucking team is just not getting it.
Oh, Bowtie needs to fucking figure it out.
So there are things to go on to Arenado. There are things that concern me.
This comment though concerns me.
Only thing I had in common with Richie Rich was dad not found. These commercials kill me.
Sup, Choi.
Fuckers. Arenado's a beast. He-Sop Choi ruined Scott Rowland's career. Listen, Scott Rowland is my favorite Cardinal of all time.
Hey, Scott Cooper, we didn't get it on Facebook, so thank you for reiterating that on YouTube.
We had to get it on both
I do.
places.
I appreciate you.
Yeah,
I really
no doubt.
do. I know it sounds condescending, but I really appreciate you, bro.
There are things that I'm a little bit concerned with trading for Arenado. He's still due a shitload of money. Which I'm actually is the least, like, I'm least worried about how much he's owed. What I'm most worried about is packaging a huge trade package together. He has an opt out after 21. Yeah. So and chances are, I mean, they said he'd waive a no trade to come to St. Louis.
Pay a guy for 2 years for his 2 best years.
I'm good with it. I mean,
maybe
listen,
that's the new method. Maybe instead of developing these guys and signing them to these 10-year deals, and the Bryce Harpers aren't happening anymore because these guys are so young, and the Chris Bryants, they know they can't keep these guys around.
No doubt.
So maybe guys are like, ooh, this guy's going to shine a real short one before his long one. Let's overpay him for that.
Didn't Betts get $27 million in arbitration, which is a record. It's a record for arbitration. I mean, he's worth it. Shit. I mean, he's worth it, especially for Boston.
Boston's
the money. People have such a hard time wrapping their head around the contract money, but they're not even, like, I've said this time and again on this show. Yes, the players are making a gross amount of money now. They're making a smaller piece of the revenue pie than they've ever made before.
We're not crying for
so
them, but
whether or not
shitty.
they're making an obscene amount of money, it doesn't reflect how much money Major League Baseball itself is making. And if that's the way that the numbers are driven, that's just what it is. But for people to say St. Louis doesn't have the money, or really any organization doesn't have the money, guys, they got the fucking money. They got the money.
That's what I'm saying. I don't care about spending the money. Let's go.
The money. And our ticket prices go up every year. Our concession prices go up every year. And that's fine. Just make sure the product matches it, you know. And also, to the St. Louis fans that are like, yeah, we're never fucking doing anything. Also remember that we were in the NLCS. We were in the NLCS half of the decade of the 2010s. We were in the NLCS 5 times in the 2010s. I mean, that's fucking incredible.
People will bitch too, like, we weren't in on that deal, or we were just in on the deal. Oh, Cardinals again, just saying they're in on David Price, saying they're in on these. Yeah. Well, David Price ended up being a toad. Being in on these guys is fine.
That's the thing.
You have a line and you draw it. And then I think with guys like Arenado, it's enough to say he's a big enough draw, and I think his defense is honestly so highlight reel-esque that's
a big hole for us right now.
It's huge. And our infield defense,
we went from being one of the worst defensive teams to getting Goldschmidt and being one of the best. And now if all of a sudden you have a Gold Glover on both hot corners,
and Wong
is the best defensive second baseman in the league. I don't even I'm glad he finally got his hardware because he's really been deserving of it for a couple of years. Guys, look, we're in good shape.
We're in real good shape.
Cards need to revamp the lineup. $2 billion TV deal kicks in this year. Well, 100%.
I don't know about pitching though. I tried to search. I think a lot of the pitchers have been signed. Cardinals are always good at finding a guy.
I listen, talking about the big money. Like I have a harder time spending the big money on pitchers than I do an everyday player.
A batter can.
Garrett
bat till he's
Cole getting
42.
Garrett Cole getting what he's still the same Garrett Cole that I always saw as
From
beatable in
Pittsburgh,
Pittsburgh.
yes, no
all
doubt.
the time. Like I never felt like he was better than any of our aces playing, and he had a big year. You know, that's the thing. Is you show up and you shine on the main stage, you're gonna get paid. And good for him. Great for him. The Yankees got it. You know, like that's pay the money. But I would much rather spend it on a guy that's going to give you 150 a year, 155 games a year, and just do it right. And not to mention to offer protection to Goldie.
Oh, God,
buddy,
yeah, dude.
buddy. I mean, way better than even we saw it happen with Ozuna, and what could even happen with Ozuna? I wouldn't even mind. I'd love to see them extend something, bring him back. He's not the best left fielder in the world, but
pay him big money for 3 years.
They traded Jose. Okay, he's garbage outfielder. Great little hitter. I think we're probably all think he's probably a little better hitter than he actually is every day.
I'd like to see him get
but I'd like to
everyday
see him
at-bats.
every day at bats.
Sure.
He's a liability with the glove. And then Arozarena, you know, I think that he had a huge upside. Dylan Carlson's going to be that's where we're going to make pay grade. If that kid is everything they say he's going to be in the outfield, then it doesn't matter. But if they're fucking hitching their wagons to Harrison,
Was it
Bader,
Gomber too?
yeah, Austin Gomber's a great little pitcher.
Yeah.
We've had a bunch of pitchers come up.
Yeah.
Got good stuff. Dakota Hudson. I mean,
Yeah.
you got these
Hudson
guys,
will probably
and
be
Reyes
good.
is going to be coming back this year, and you know, hopefully we'll see what Martinez does this year. Like,
Well, Martinez might be gone too if that's part of that deal, like they were hinting at.
Arenado has an extra limo just to travel with that huge meat sleeve. I don't think he's got a sleeve. What? You know what? Yeah, you're right. He does. He has to drag that bad boy around.
Goddamn right he does. You see it? See the thing? Yeah, Gorman. Gorman's the kid I was thinking of.
Oh, he's a third baseman? What is he? Third baseman?
I think so.
I think he's a
Move
third
him
baseman.
around.
So if we were going to make a deal for Arenado, it would probably include that kid, I would think.
Go for it, baby.
Why not?
Go fucking get the
And here's the
guy.
deal. I think the home away splits are real, man. Like he's not going to hit like he hit at Coors. Nobody
Someone
does.
said that his home and away splits though might be just home and away splits.
It could be.
Yeah.
They could be. I mean, comparing St. Louis to Coors St. Louis
Silly.
is not a hitter's ballpark.
We're right in the middle.
Yeah, I mean,
we always end up right in the middle.
we're not
For batters and
Cincinnati, but
hitters.
we're not
Yeah.
fucking Oakland either.
Yes,
So
yes.
somewhere in the middle.
God, I love that.
I just want to.
Love that shit. Not Cincinnati and not Oakland. I'm like, I know what you're talking
You know what I'm saying?
I fucking love that
Oh,
shit.
the guys, the baseball analogies, they're just the fucking best. They're the best. Fucking-
Carlson definitely needs to be brought up this year. The outfield scares me though. Me too. That's why I go get bets. Fucking, where's that little dude at? Pop back up. No, I'm joking.
I don't think we got him. He's on the other one.
Only Zuckerberg on this one. This little bastard. All right, do you want to give him maybe another
Somebody say Mookie Betts.
Oh God, there he is again. You
I'll
ass.
be your Mookie.
You son of a
Mookie
bitch.
Mookie.
You're more like Dookie. Get out of here. Get out of here.
That's it, sir. I'm gonna need it. Oh, thank you. That's nice.
We're so dumb.
We are.
We're at a minute or an hour and a half about into the show. Maybe we hit them with our second commercial break, come back with streaming picks and outside perspective. We can talk a little bit about that. And then
Totally.
Some of the events we got coming up.
I'm with it, man. Let's do it. Guys, thanks for sticking around for sports. Got about 5 or 6 minute break here. We're going to come up and wrap this whole thing up. This is Hoosier Sophisticate, live from Mycelial Studios. We'll see you on the other side.
James Carlton Insurance 314-961
4800. Handsome,
Amazing,
astonishing,
astounding,
fabulous,
incredible,
fantastical,
phenomenal,
prodigious,
stupendous,
unbelievable,
wondrous,
divine.
fantastical.
No, seriously, he's fantastical.
You got a house,
Go on and get it insured.
you got a car,
You gotta get it insured.
you got a life.
Go on and get it insured. Carlton Insurance.
you take our insurance and are you cannabis friendly? And they all said no. And then at that last phone call, that 8th phone call, I was like, do you know anybody that is? I'm desperate. I've called 7 other people. You're my 8th phone call. At this point, I'm crying my eyes out. And this lady just felt bad for me and said, hold on, let me call you back in a few minutes. And they called me back and they said that they would take him, but under a certain amount of conditions. And the main condition was that if they felt that cannabis was not working for him, then they would take him from us and put him in and Child Protective Services, and then they would take the other 2 kids too. Oh, because they were both underage.
Then
and we would be charged with child endangerment.
So they'd go to federal prison.
Yeah, we would go to federal prison. So we said, bring it on.
Come to Privilege, I got good fries.
This is one of the best Cubans. I try a Cuban everywhere I go. And this is one of the best damn Cubans I've ever had. And we've got a little white cheddar mac here with a little cracker mac. Life-changing, incendiary.
Everywhere I go, I try the Cuban. This time I didn't. I got the grilled cheese bacon burger.
Look at that thing.
With put some pepper jack on there, some jalapenos. And we got some crinkle fries. And all I can say is, oh baby, grow baby.
As you can see, this was once a delicious plate of coconut scrimps, and I devoured it. And if I had to say, if I had to give a review real quick, I'd say it's an orgasmic feast of the senses.
And I love meat.
Come to Privilege.
We're back.
And we're back.
We are back.
Oh man, what a little show we've had tonight. God, I love just Monday nights, being with you freaks every Monday. It's awesome. We got to talk a little sports, a little cannabis, a little psychedelics, do what we do. And now we're going to tell you about what you need to watch and let you know about what you need to hear, what you need to listen to.
That sounds great. We'll talk about, let's do it.
We like movies. So do you. We like internet. So do you. It's the streaming picks of the week. It's the streaming picks of the week. It's the streaming picks of the week. We like the internet too.
What are you watching this week, bub?
Oh, I'll tell you what I'm watching. Can I click it? Go ahead and click me to Zumbo.
Oh, can I click it?
Can I
Let me
click
click it.
and get a click. Give me to the click. There's my dude. Honk, 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 honk. That's why I put us here. I can do that. I've been waiting all night.
Tune in Tokyo.
She's great. Rachel Koo.
Yeah, well, you just got us canceled. So thanks for that.
Oops. I live here in Cleve.
I can't even reach your nose. I can't even reach your nose. I was going to pick it.
Her hair covers your head.
What is Zumbo, Steve?
It's a cooking show. I'm not into cooking shows. I mean, cooking shows are fine. Nailed It's okay, and the Great British Cook-Off. I've heard people say good things about this. I just love this fucking Zumbo guy, and Rachel Koo's great too. But it's the people. These people can fucking bake, and most of them are just moms. Like this one guy's a construction worker, and he's awesome. And they're all from like New Zealand or Australia. So they all like, far out. The one guy, I'm gonna start saying far out all the time. He's like, oh, my dessert's so good. Far out.
Fall out.
Yeah, I fucking love it. And they always had to say so. So they're always like, oh, there's so much cream in here.
Sir.
It's so good. And I can't get enough of it.
So basically, it's a decent show, but the Australian accents are what really fucking push it over the top.
It's the New Zealanders that get me. They're my favorite
I love
people.
Kiwis, man.
They're my favorite.
I love Kiwis.
Hey, Britt.
Jermaine. One of my favorite movies. I've talked about it before.
Jermaine. Britt, I do this to Jen sometimes. She wants to fucking kill me. Britt, Jermaine. She's like, yeah, I get it. But the boss from Flight of the Conchords 2, I think, is one of the greatest actors.
Is he?
Marv. No, he's not in it, but he's in Yes Man. I also watched that. That's on Netflix.
I just watched it
You told me. You remember? You go,
before.
I need to rewatch that, and it popped up on Netflix.
I know.
It's great.
We watched it just the other day. It's a good flick,
It's
man.
great.
I forgot that Zooey Deschanel was the love interest in that.
But this show will it's an easy 10-episode watch, and the desserts they create are not only elegant and look like they could be served in a 5-star restaurant, but also look fucking delicious and fun and different. Like the one guy is always mixing chili powder and blue cheese and all this weird shit in his desserts, and you can tell these motherfuckers are like, oh yeah, hit me with a little blue cheese or chili powder in an ice cream.
Yeah, I
or
love
something.
that. Yeah.
So it's very cool. One of the episodes, they have a bunch of kids come in. So one lady's like, I'm gonna make with all this sugar, and it's like these are probably chef's kids. They're probably like, oh, I use a bit too much sugar.
Have you ever had the experience of like a dining experience with like world-class chefs before, like where you're eating with them?
Once I had the lady said, make whatever the chef wants. Bring out. They did 6 courses.
Right.
So the chef just brought everything.
Well, that's awesome.
That's the closest I've been doing.
You know, it's like a dealer's choice. I love that.
Yeah, it's cool. Very cool. I was
to,
worried.
I went to a dinner with Miss a couple years ago. A friend of hers was getting married, or actually, I don't even think they were in town. They were in town from Kansas City, and her fiance at the time, now her husband, is a world-class chef. She's been on the Food Network a few times. Yeah, fucking dude is unbelievable in the kitchen. And we met them for dinner at Brasserie by Niche.
Oh, yep. I used to
and so we go over there and we have this amazing meal, and all of us have different things. And then they were like, "Okay, are you guys ready for dessert?" And I'm not much of a sweet guy. I'm just not really big into sweets. I was actually sitting there with like 3 chefs, right? Because his buddies met us for dinner too, and so to hear them talk about food and the way that they were so not just interested in how the food is prepared, but where it's sourced, where it comes from, how fresh the ingredients are, rolling out their own dough to make their own noodles because they have to make every last little thing that goes into it. Hearing the intricacies of a 5-star dining experience it's amazing to see these guys in their element. And they were talking about dessert, and I'm like, I'm just not really into sweets. And this guy's like, you know what? I'm not either. He goes, I want you to try this particular ice cream. He goes, it's more savory than sweet. And it was like this, it was like a chocolate ice cream, but it was like a sea salt thing. And it did things to my face that I didn't know food could do. And I was like, holy, like he really, encouraged me to try something that I otherwise wouldn't, and I was so grateful.
Craig, that wasn't ice cream.
It was.
Did to your face.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Vanilla ice cream all over my
so good. But just having that experience, he's like, trust me on this one. It's not a sweet dessert like you would think of it. Yeah. And I tried it, and I'm like, oh, dessert can be savory. It can have these spices to it, or the
That's
salt
the
to
deal.
it, and like, man,
It's not cake with icing. Hey,
Right.
it's cake with icing again.
Right.
I mean, a lot of it is.
Sure,
a lot of
well,
it is, but
naturally. But the
they,
things
the
that
way
people,
they can layer it,
no
and
doubt,
put it. Oh,
no doubt,
buddy.
it's like a sophisticated bomb pop.
Yeah, it'll make you want to cook. It always makes me want to bake. I never do it, but the ice cream came out in the flesh-colored tube that seemed to be coming from under the table.
Damn it, Ross. Get it together.
I made chocolate chili cinnamon bread with coffee icing. I'll share the recipe. Please
Okay,
don't.
please.
That sounds
No,
disgusting.
yeah.
No, I'm joking.
You
That
think you are
sounds
Bigfoot Willie Jr. Just
Yeah, I
sharing
know. You can do
recipes?
that.
Zumba's
Zumba's Just Desserts is great. Jenny gets it. It's a show that me and Jenny can watch, and we still have 10 minutes left in the last episode.
Mike Stevens here says, just picking seeds out of my dispensary, bud.
Oh, fuck.
Well, at least you didn't pay a whole lot for it, Mike. At least you didn't pay like $80 and 30% tax on top of it.
Yeah, that's good.
At least it wasn't like a 33% tax attached to it.
Yeah. I'm getting over there. I just got my ID in the mail. I'm going to go over there and at least get some video footage of. I'm just going to ask people why, basically, and how they feel about being in lines. Like, I'm gonna first I'll look to see if they're actively being fisted.
I took it out before I got here. I took it out. Food is life, and to know food is to provide sustenance and comfort to people. Cooking for someone is the best way to say I love your life and I want to enrich it. Well, that's very nice, Kenneth Zimmerman.
Oh, Steve, head chef dies at the end.
Wrong chef died.
Wrong chef died. All right, so that's my pick. It's a very easy watch. It's nothing too deep, and it's something you don't have to pay too much attention to, and watch with your significant other.
Love
and
it.
the kids can watch it too.
Love it. It's awesome. It's
What
so
you got?
awesome. I've been diving into a bunch of gardening shows, and also on your recommendation, I started Messiah, which I'm 2 episodes in, and
I'll take you on a ride, baby.
it's fucking really good so far. It's
good.
playing out exactly about how I think it would play out.
Yeah, I know.
Which is kind of a scary thought experiment. I was trying to explain it to a friend at work and who's rather religious, and I'm like, listen, I really think you should check it out. And just I feel like I need to preface this with I don't think it's heresy or blasphemy.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a thought experiment of what
Talking
if
to you is more heresy
yeah,
than blasphemy.
right, yeah,
than
oh
the
for
show.
sure. Watching this show is way more heresy, but it's a thought experiment. Like, what if this Savior, what if this Christ character came back today in Damascus, Syria, and was telling people to trust in the Father, and then all of these things that are really big are happening that kind of corroborate his magic. And
Jesus' miracles are being shared with Nokia phones and shit.
unbelievable, man. It is really cool. But I just for a pick, kind of another one of those you don't have to pay too much attention to. But I'm having fun with it, and mainly because it is Trevor's jam. Trevor's always been on the nature shows, but Chasing Monsters.
Look out,
I
Greg.
love old Cyril. I think is his
Love
name.
him,
Cyril
dude.
is great.
Is he
I think he's a
French,
French Canadian. I
Spanish?
think.
Okay.
I think he's a French Canadian, and he's a polyglot. He speaks multiple
gonna say, he
languaes. He
speaks a
speaks
ton of
them
them.
very well. And I mean that's a pretty good example.
Oh,
of
you're
Fire Marshal Bill. But no, I'll tell you what. I found myself watching. We've binged kind of several episodes over the past few days, and it's kind of a lot of the same stuff. But it's really cool
Exactly
to see this guy. I'm just like, holy shit! This guy has the life. This guy has the life. Like, what a cool deal. Like, obviously, fishing is his passion. Landing monsters is his passion, and he's getting to go. Dude, the one today, he was convinced that he's gonna fucking hand fish for a marlin, and all these guys are like,
You mean you're gonna lose some fingers?
"You're not hand fishing for a marlin," and he's like, "No, just like Old Man in the Sea, I'm gonna hand fish for a marlin." They're like, "No, like, okay, you want to go hand fishing for a marlin? Okay, cool. Well, let's go hand.
Isn't that old?
Let's
Didn't
go.
they have
Yeah,
that old
yeah." And he
crank?
broke that before he could even use it.
Yeah.
But like marlins are 400 pounds, and they swim. They're in the
Bees.
water, by the way. Like,
Bees.
if a marlin snagged you and you're on a handrail, it's either A, gonna rip your fingers clean off, or B, it's gonna pull you out of the boat and you're going for
Yeah.
a ride. And that's
Everybody
what-
knows you tied
And
to
they're
your
like, these
dick.
old boat captains are like, no, people die fishing for marlins. Like, dude, and then, like this other episode where these sturgeon and shit would jump up out of the water, killing people at 25 miles an hour. They're riding their boat, and these sturgeon will jump up, hit them in the head, knock them off the boat, kill them. Like,
God
dude,
dang.
this guy shows fish to be the badasses that they can be. It's super awesome. He goes and gets gators.
Yeah.
They got a python out of the Everglades.
He takes a route up the river too, where they can't take boats any further with like a tribe, and like I think he bow fishes. Maybe
dude, he does it's a fun show. It's a fun show to watch to see.
That might have been Meat Eater.
To see some of the fucking the monsters that are in the deep, man. And like I mean the amount of joy that it's awesome. And you got me into it again, like with your journey into fishing and everything. Like if you've been far removed for it, you forget how good it feels to fucking snag one and bring it in, man. That's it. I mean, it's a good one. That's a real good feeling, man. And like I'm seeing him hook these monsters, and it makes me feel it. And I'm like, oh, dude, pull that son of a bitch in.
Yeah, and then to balance that out, reality TV is so not real anymore.
Yeah.
Fishing shows, it's still reality TV because they're like, got one. You see pure joy, and then if the line breaks, he's like, no.
Yeah.
No, and you're like, oh, that's real. There's no
doubt.
fake like emotion coming out of them. There, they are living. That
You were talking
shit,
about
dude.
how the Kiwis talk and the Australians talk, and he's down in Costa Rica for it. And after everything these people say is Porta Vida. Is the Porta Vida is the pure life. That's just what Costa Rica is the pure life. And he's talking to this 75-year-old boat captain. He's like, 75? The guy looks like he's like maybe 45, 50. And the guy's like, yeah, I live a stress-free life. I fish every day.
What's cortisol?
This is what I do. I fish every day, and I have lots of sex. That's why I look so young.
Like, should try that.
Yeah, we should totally try.
Try
Try banging and fishing, man.
I'm sure that dude has no problems. He's a handsome bastard. He's
Like,
tough.
speaks
He's
all the
guy's
languages.
Guy. Yeah.
Oh,
I
dude,
like him.
he'll die. They go gigging for frogs, and like one of the deals, the guy was like, "You're not a real Everglades man. You're not a real Gladesman until you can catch a frog with your bare hands." And he like fucking spotlights that cocksucker and dives into the. Fuck that, by the way. He goes fishing with the fucking the one guy goes, "Yeah, sure, I'll go show you the spot where all the bass are at. You just got to do one thing first. You got to swim with the gators with me." And these dudes are out in the back of his house. There are 5 gators, and he's like, they're more afraid of you. They're swimming towards these motherfuckers. He's like, the only rule is as soon as they submerge, get your ass out of the water. And he's showing all of his kids swimming off the dock and everything, and all the kids know once that gator submerges, get out of the water. I'm like,
that's fun swimming. Hey, Marco Polo. Did a gator go under? When? You don't know when it went under. Fuck that, dude. That's terrible
dude, it's
parenting.
fucking crazy. But it's awesome.
parenting.
It is awesome, though.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy that show.
Mike Stevens says he's going to catch one like that at the Hoosier fishing trip.
Okay. Oh, I can't wait for that. Yeah, we got the Hoosier fish. We got a lot coming up.
Oh, you know what? Brian says he's loving him some Messiah, and also he and Angie started Don't Fuck with Cats. I've watched I've watched the fucking preview for that a couple of times.
It's wild.
It's pretty fucking strange.
Yeah, it's a mini documentary series on trying to pinpoint an online terrorist.
Okay.
It's fucking wild.
No
dude.
doubt.
It's a little tough to watch too.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from a lot of people. Like they look away or they have someone tell them when the scene's over.
It's kind of messed up, but it shows you the power of the connection and it shows you both sides of it. You know how the power of this technology can be used in many ways.
No doubt, man.
And it's real interesting. Another documentary that'll have you on the edge of your seat. Saw a dude speared by a swordfish on Facebook. It was satisfying.
When he was talking about going and hand fishing for the marlins.
The old man and the ass. Let's see. Rachel Wise, why don't you settle down?
Rachel? Jesus. Well, get it together, Rachel. Try
My
and have some
God.
decorum. This show, I mean, we're professionals.
I know. The old man and the sea is one of my faves. Yeah.
Speaking
the
of
old man
Rachel
and
Crawford.
the ass.
Let's speaking of Rachel Crawford, let's talk about a kind of a cool event that's
Talk
happening.
about our shit coming up, man.
We are taking a nice little trip with our significant others to the lake for the Grow Trade Fest announcement, kickoff party, I guess is what it is. And I am so looking forward to this, buddy. I'm so looking forward to all of us being able to go together, to be able to share this with our spouses, to be able to to bring some of the sophisticated Hoosiers all together on a different spot. I've been waiting like crazy to get Miss come out and get to meet these people in Kansas City and Jen to like we talk about them like we know them because they're like family to us, but they haven't even met our most important people. It's going to be great. There's so many contributors that I'm looking forward to meeting there. Our friends from Springfield are going to be down there. Josh Loftus is going to be down there. Ashley Markham's going to be there. I'm pretty sure. We're going to meet the guys from Dab Stars. They have all kinds of musical talent that's going to be there. Jessica Evans, you're going to be there. It's going to be fucking
Dude, I'm
awesome.
looking at it right now. Kyle Turley. They got Adela Wisdom's going to be down there. They got Jennifer Rouse. Whitney Waymeyer is going to be down there. Our buddy Clay Stallings. Christina Frommer. Awesome. They got our buddy, I'm looking for Nate. Nate's going to be there, and Ricky Starling. Chris Wolfenbarger. Jody Hendricks. Ashley Markham. I mean, dude, this is just
that's the event that's actually happening in
who's.
September, right? So Grow Trade Fest is happening in September. We're going there this weekend for a little kickoff party.
Yes, this is Thursday, September 17th.
At the lake. And I'm just excited to riff a little bit, man. I'm excited to get out there to kind of get to interview some people, to have some fun, show them how we do some things, learn how they do some things. Tickets are still available.
Oh, yeah.
I believe you guys go out there for I think they got some tickets for this weekend, and then they've also got some tickets for the event in September. You should definitely get those.
That event in September is something I'm looking forward to.
The lineup is killer. Grow Trade Fest. It's going to be awesome, and it's put on
GrowTradeFest.com.
TheGrowTradeFest.com. Go check it out, guys. I mean, it's an event that's being put on by people I love. By people we love. And that's all I want to do anymore. I just want to do business and commune with people that I love, and have them help me get the message out there and help them get their message out there. That's what it's all about. It's all about building this community. I'm so excited to see everyone on Saturday. I can't wait to see you either, Jennifer Barra. So excited to finally meet some people I've never met in person, no doubt. Y'all can't know how excited I am that y'all are bringing your wives. I'm telling you.
Oh, dude, we can't wait. Our wives are pumped. You can see Jenny up there. She's pumped. We're lucky to be a part of this. We're lucky, people ask us to come to this. This is kind of where we wanted to be.
No doubt.
And we're there, We're kind of living our little dream right now.
No doubt, man.
From being in the basement on the other side of the basement, before and after the radio, and before and after the radio again.
I know.
We just keep fighting the good fight, keep going on, keep trying to do whatever we can do to make shit happen here in St. Louis and Missouri. It's been a wild ride, and I hope it keeps going, baby. And with events like this, we got sorry, I noticed it in the. But it's growing. The Grow Trade Fest. This community is growing. We're supporting each other. We're sharing each other's content.
Mm-hmm.
It is so cool to see this. Corinne, a Hoosier with MoCan BizCon. That's coming up. That's going to be awesome. But talking about
March?
Good, yes, March 2nd and 3rd. Good business practices within the cannabis community. She's talking about let's be good to each other. And I've thought about moral capitalism before and what that means and how we can be good to each other. But George Nolan. If you don't eat, I don't eat, buddy. We're in this together.
No doubt.
We're in this together.
No doubt. And there are so many great people attached to this. And you know what? It's probably a little Pollyanna-ish, or maybe just a really hard goal to want to get along with every single person in the industry. But the reality is that there are so many great people in it that you can just kind of gravitate towards whomever is speaking your language, is working at your speed, and I think that's kind of what this has kind of been about all along. From you starting a show on Sports Talk, that evolving into parents coming in and talking about their children being healed by cannabis, to then all of a sudden we're interviewing Tom Mundell and Jeff Mazansky, and our buddy Blake Bell's bringing them in, and then all of a sudden we're in, and then the station's like, whoa, you guys can't talk about
what are you doing?
Fine, we go to the other side of the basement, we start doing our thing, and then we're like, you know what, this one thing really works well for us, this floating thing. Let's start doing that. And then we basically had a podcast that was centered around flotation therapy, which we've probably really neglected since this has kind of taken off, and how much of a part of our regular routine that was, and how important I still think it is. And I mean, it's certainly, if you're kind of on the fence about, meditation or psychedelics, like you want to try it on training wheels, you want to try it and maybe give your skin some love by sitting in a tank that's filled with Epsom salt. Like, it's a great little introduction into getting inside of your mind. So we probably need to start talking about float therapy a little bit. You were talking about the other day about how your neck and back were hurting a little bit. Like, that's probably a great way to do that. And there's things that we know and that we learn that sometimes we forget. Just not because it's not important, but just because there's so much other shit that we're focused on, and we're like, oh man, that really is a great tool that I need to work into my everyday thing. And we're on the other side of your basement, sitting in a little room where we're just telling jokes and having a good time. And there were people along for the ride from the very beginning. People like James Carlton, State Farm Insurance, 314-961-4800. The guy was like, whatever you guys are doing, I'm in it. I support it. Dustin at Lifetime Roofing and Sean. Those guys, they were in. They
Mike
were the
Lohr,
initial
Heather
stable,
Hausman,
Zach Elkin.
Yeah,
we've got a whole crew. Lifetime has been such not just a huge contributor to putting this show on, but also for picking up the community and placing them in employment and changing their lives. And
you hooking me up with Dustin changed my fucking life.
It's how it's all gone. They were there from the very beginning. We have people like Truman's who we've been able to put on unbelievable get-togethers at their place. Truman's in Soulard. Guys, go check them out. Their food's amazing. The service is great. Blues All-Star games coming up. We got Hot Stove going on with the Cardinals. You guys are watching football in St. Louis. You need a place to go catch the game. Our buddy Sam Lyons, and there he goes, hey, how Truman's on football? I'm like, I think they're about as good as any. There's TVs everywhere. Go on, watch your game, buddy. Like, that's as good a place to catch a game as anywhere. We heard somebody talking about how maybe we need to get a kickball league or a volleyball team. If you guys are into league volleyball, Truman's has been running league volleyball forever. So go check out Truman's in Soulard. Brad Packer's awesome. Supports the show. Helps make it all possible. CBD Canvas helped us out along the way. I mean, they decided they were on board. Everybody that's been on board. We did a Hoosier Tattoo Day almost a year ago when Parlor STL and Tower Classic were on board. We brought out 15 people to get tattooed. I posed a question in the Sophisticated Hoosiers group. We want to do one in Springfield. Would you be interested? So far, we have 24 people that said yes.
More than responded to the St. Louis one.
I asked my buddy Nate, who's a tattoo artist down there at Legacy Tattoo.
God, Springfield's got a bunch of Hoosiers.
Great place, And I said, hey, can you handle a dozen to a couple dozen people? He's like, we got 6 artists. We'll figure it out.
Our assholes come in and be like, I got this full back tattoo.
Yeah.
I'm getting today.
There will be some
slight.
There will be some slight. What's the word I'm looking for? Like things that you can get done.
Guidelines.
Guidelines. Yes, thank you. Like we're not going in there for a full portrait piece, guys. It's kind of a banger day. We're gonna go in there. We're gonna get simple tattoos.
Come on, you know the deal.
Roman's life has changed completely since he's met Steve.
Well, yeah, he's got herpes.
And he would do some kickball. Hey guys, have you heard about the squirrel with the food fetish? It's fucking nuts.
He just made that up. Very good.
Guys, we love you, and there are so many cool events to get excited about. And we'll give a shout out. We met at the Cola Lounge a couple days ago to kind of talk some business.
Going there tomorrow.
There's some really cool stuff that's going on. Grow Active Solutions down on Grand, they threw like a big open house kind of thing. They had a home grow competition.
Yeah.
Where there were several judges judging this home grow competition. Like, it's happening, guys. Yep. We're getting to a point where it's happening. And while there is some information that is frustrating to some, we can't not see the forest of the trees. And, there is some really great shit that's happening here. And it's my hope that all of it gets shaken out, that the industry does open up, that the state is on board to grant more licenses, to really cultivate an open market, open free market. It cracks me up when people say, well, what do we want? Another Oregon on our hands? Well, for the consumer, that would be the best case scenario, right? That would be the best case scenario. It's weird. A lot of these arguments that people make for limited licensing is like, well, we have to protect the profits that these people that are getting in the business. Like, no. That's the calculated risk that these people, just like you're telling everybody who took a risk on an application to just be okay with the fact that maybe they didn't come out on top. Apply that same logic to an open, unfettered market where, guess what? Like, yeah, you don't get to sell fucking $400 ounces. I'm sorry. There's too many people that will do that. That's how this works. The reason why JP Morgan became the fucking richest man in the world is because he figured out how to make steel the cheapest out of everybody. So at the end, the consumer was ultimately the one who gains from that. We're not being punished by putting more fucking medicine into the market. And so I hope, with the discouraging news of so-and-so not getting licenses or whatever, I hope that'll break loose a little bit. I hope that more people are allowed to participate, not just because I want to see my friends have a chance to succeed in business, but I want to see all of us patients win by having a plethora of medicine to choose from, by being able to establish relationships with our own personal people that we trust to do business with, just like anything else. And, I think that we're going to trend in that direction. We can't allow the first news to hit the stand to taint the way that we are looking towards the whole program, the program as a whole. We've got big things to be excited about, and if we can take just let's look at states around us. If we can take anything from all of that, let's take the good and the bad. Let's look at what's happening in Oklahoma with unlimited licensing. Let's take a look at what's happening in Illinois. We've already got a shortage. Today I saw that HCI in Collinsville was not open to recreational customers. They hope to be open again tomorrow, but only medicinal. And I appreciate the fact that at least they're making sure that medicinal patients are getting their medicine first. That first and foremost, that's awesome that the recreational market isn't railroading it, but we don't have to have these shortages. Right, the flower can be the flowers can be as abundant as we allow them to be. So let's try and not centrally plan it, and let's just say, hey, let's grow some fucking medicine.
Damn right, man.
So
tie it all back together too. The we've been on this path for a while, buddy, and I love doing it with you.
I love doing it with you.
Doing it with you. The destination is the journey. To tie it all back around,
man,
the journey is the destination. We're gonna keep fighting. You keep fighting, and we'll fucking get there, baby.
The more we walk down this path, the more fucking questions we got, man.
Oh yeah,
and that's the best part about it. We're always learning.
Well, the more ways you're going this direction, and if there's other paths you can get on, that's a multitude of different options you have already gotten past that could be different in your past. You can't focus on that shit.
No doubt.
Buy in, move on. We love you, Hoosiers, and we're going to keep bringing you the good stuff every Monday. Hopefully micro content throughout the week. We're going to keep with podcasts. We got about 4 or 5 new things in store for this summer.
Let's tease them a little bit, man. Okay. Let's tease these
Who's Your Own Adventure?
Who's Your Own Adventure is something that I'm more excited about than anything that we do. Just because I think it'll be really fun, and I to encourage people to create a character, an avatar for themselves, right? Create an avatar for yourself to exist in this little fantasy land that we're going
already
to create.
Freaks.
Bigfoot Willie Jr.'s friend and my dear friend Ryan Watts is one of the most brilliant creative minds that I know, and I have had the pleasure and the honor of playing in his games, and they are super fun, man. He's such, and we're not just like playing D&D. We are creating our own little role-playing universe where a Hoosier is its own race, and it's going to be great. So there's one thing, Hoosier Own Adventure. And we got our wise. We want to talk about not a cult classics.
I can't wait for this.
Not a cult classics is going to be great. I was explaining the concept to a friend, and he goes, "Dude, that's fucking awesome." Because we all, for the most part, we can agree kind of what is and what isn't a cult classic. But there are a lot of great movies that we've all kind of forgot about that we consider classics. Throwing it out there. You watched Heavyweights with Jen before. I watched Multiplicity with Miss. These are movies that would anybody consider them cult classics? No, but I would consider them classics. They're classics, right?
For sure.
So we're gonna roll that out. Have some new content for you there. What's some of the other
outdoor?
Ideas?
We got the outdoor channel.
Elgin and Co. Outdoors.
Chasing Monsters was one of the things that led me
Really?
to try to build that, because we got some GoPros now. I love fishing now. It seems to be the people who are into fishing are fucking into fishing, and that can kind of be contagious. My kids love it. So I can never find information on fishing and or where to take my family in Missouri just for a little few hour trip to the to the wilderness. So if we can start, we're always out. We're always going to Tom Sauk and Johnson Shut-ins and all these different places, Merrimack Springs. If we can bring back a little bit, a blog, some pictures, some video, and then have Elgin & Co. Outdoors, because we're going to have the Kohler brothers be part of it too. So Elgin & Co. Outdoors, we get our families together. It's a way we get our families together and be able to bring information back to the people who need to get that information. I know I would need it, and I just want to be able to, hey, your kids can come here. The fishing's pretty good, and here's some funny shit we did while we were down here. Pretty fun.
No doubt.
Oliver fell in trying to let Park Lake. If I would have had that on film, I wouldn't be here right now.
You wouldn't be here right now, would you? Hey guys, real talk. My lady's hard of hearing. How about getting subtitles? Kenneth, I think they put them on after the fact, after we put them on here.
And can YouTube? Do it?
Yeah, YouTube does do that, but I don't know if it does it live, and it's not super accurate, which may be more funny.
Yeah,
I don't know.
What about your TV? Will your TV pick up the YouTube if your TV closed caption settings are on?
I don't know. Maybe.
Does that work
I don't think that's how that works. I don't think that's how closed captioning works.
Maybe
That's all people
Maybe
typing shit in.
Yeah.
So, anywho, we'll look into it though, Ken. I think we can choose to put subtitles on. I'm just not sure if it works for live.
We're also growing the Mycelial Media Network. I had a meeting about adding another show to the mix. Our goal is to have the fucking best place in St. Louis where you can get your content created and hang out with the coolest people that you can brainstorm with.
Doubt.
And let's think innovative and let's put St. Louis on the fucking map again. Make America great again, man.
Let's make Hoosier great again. I'm super excited, man. The Mycelial Media Network is we're going to be like we've always been here, right? But this is the year that it takes a step forward in content. We are recording a separate podcast from this show. The second episode dropped today. We'll call it the second episode of season 2. Season 2, chapter 2. The first one was the Gospel of Luke. If you want to get into a really kind of deep existential conversation
listened to part of that today.
about psychedelics and about plant medicines and just about moving through this human experience, my buddy Luke has an unbelievable way of putting it into words. I'm very proud of that. And then, of course, we dropped it today. I think we called it The Gospel of Stephen Craig. Well, the titles are in. The titles are in. The Book of Stephen Craig,
verse 1.
Verse 1. There you go.
We've been having this art hanging around. Send us your art. We want to build a
That's
part
our
of
buddy
studio.
Patrick Walgamot
This is
painted
Patrick
that.
Walgamot.
Unbelievable.
This won the Blues Cup.
It did win the Blues Cup.
I mean, we want to build a part of our studio where you can kind of submit art like this. We got something else here too. I don't know if I can pick that up.
Yeah, we can. Sure.
But this is one of the Tom Mundell's family members. That is
that's
so
cool.
Badass.
You see right through the green.
So think about that too. If you got some green art you want to send us, we'd love to throw it up in the studio.
It's awesome.
That's my message.
Right on. Well, guys, we thank you so much for giving us a couple hours of your time every week. We hope that the content is getting better and better. Oh, you know what we forgot to do?
I'm going to lead them out with the outside perspective thing.
That sounds great.
Talk a little bit about Adam Meredith, sharing each other's shit. Adam Meredith was a sweetheart.
I think it's so key, man. I think in the age of digital content creation that we all have to kind of, just like we want to do business with people in the cannabis industry and all these other industries that are our friends, the same thing works with digital content. We want to share people that are doing awesome stuff. And Adam Meredith is one of them. The Outside Perspective podcast is tremendous. You and I have each done it together with him on there. You did it you did a solo job with him right after we got back from Michigan. I did a solo job right after we were done with done with Doblin, pretty much. So there's some great content there. He's doing a really great job. He and Rick Dilley from Convergence Media Group. The shot is amazing. They've got some great camera work. And I think he's having some great conversations. He's talking to fitness experts. He's talking to Andy Frisella, who's the founder of First Form and Supplement Superstores. He's talking to
people who are going to make their life
fighters,
better.
MMA fighters, fitness people, diet people, entrepreneurs, life coaches. Adam Meredith is on one. I'm proud to call him a friend, and I'm glad to share. Be able to go on his show that he even asked us to do his show. It's very nice of him. And so I think we'll leave you with a clip of Steve talking to what was it that you were talking about?
I was actually talking about
Musk?
Tesla. He actually he got mixed up. It was Tesla. I was actually talking about Nikola Tesla and finding a Wardenclyffe tower, one of those free energy sources. If we could just
Very good.
find one of those, that'd be great.
Yeah.
But then it leads to believe that he thought I was talking about Elon Musk and not a very bright guy, Adam. Not very bright. Just joking, he's a fucking wonderful human. But he was talking about the Hyperloop. So I said, I'm going to be the first guy to go in the Hyperloop, just myself.
Just you.
Yeah. And then it gets a little graphic after that. So, guys, check out Outside Perspective. Check out Nate on Cannabis. Our buddy Lance Storm.
Yeah, Companion
Support the
Mag,
fucking
CompanionMag.com, no doubt.
Totally. Evolution
Greenway
Mag, too.
Magazine, Evolution
Yes.
Mag, all people doing
We love
great
'em, man.
stuff. Greenway's been really out in front of
Killing it.
breaking news and everything. They're really doing a phenomenal job. It's exciting, man. You got a lot of people that are trying to bring you information so that you can stay up to date. It's amazing what we take for granted knowing. But the reality of the situation is there's a lot of people that don't know some of the most basic things, and there cannot be too many of us, talking about these things. Just don't forget where you fucking came from.
Yep, we're media partners too with Greenway at MoCan BizCon 2020. So get your tickets today. Well, here's a little clip from Outside Perspective, and have a good night, Hoosiers.
Be well.
Big Tesla guy.
Oh, dude, I want a Tesla.
Fucking, if we can just start pulling that fucking sweet, juicy, delicious energy from the air, baby.
We can. There's a lot of options. Dude, did you see, speaking of
Don't
Tesla.
just say that and then move on like you got his notebook or something and you know something I don't about the Wardenclyffe Towers, baby.
Well, dude, there's so many ways to collect energy, right? You got geothermal energy, which
Damn right.
come from the bottom of the ocean.
I'm
You
talking
can
about
do
that big
wind
ball
energy.
thing where you put your hand on it and your hair spikes up.
Oh, like the actual Tesla fucking coils.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here, bro.
Come on, baby.
No, but speaking
Believe.
of Tesla, dude, did you see this fucking? I think they have like a Hyperloop or some shit that they. What was it? I think it was in Kansas City. They got like the bus thing or whatever the pod's gonna look like.
I'm gonna be the first dude to just do it, like
just
like
be in
a
this tunnel, dude,
skeleton.
just zipping.
And be like, turn it on, like I'm at the bank, just going through the old zip tube, baby. Woo!
You gonna lube up?
Oh, yeah. I'm always lubed up, so that's a dumb question. I thought you were a professional. God, did you not look up my Wikipedia page?
I should have done the research.
Yeah, it's all right. We can cut all that.
It's
out.
fucking amateur hour here.
Oh, we can cut all that shit out.